speak to me words that contain beauty and truth.
Alright.
No? Okay. Well, bye. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hello?
You here?
If I can hear you, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Who am I talking to?
Don't know.
No. Okay. I wasn't sure what
There's
was
only
going
two
on.
people on the line.
Well,
There's only me and
that's
you.
what I think. Just the two of us, huh?
Well, at the moment.
Fair
Benny
enough.
Bush's in.
Of course he is, somewhere back there.
Uh-huh. That's you now, that's it.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the way things are going right now.
Actually, Ronald McDonald.
Say what?
I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street trailer. I'm watching the original trailer.
For the actual original Nightmare on Elm Street, not the new updated one?
The original.
You see, I think Lenny needs to sing our theme song. Does he play this song every single day just before our show?
It's just a children's version. This one, isn't it? Lesbian. Except somebody points to somebody in the audience.
I'll be right back with you guys. I'm not getting off the line. I'll be right back.
Who shall find in his history? Man.
She's inclined to be ahead of her time, and she's a lesbian. Lesbian, no man's land. Lesbian. Any woman can be a lesbian.
We can give lessons and have to do it.
Carol is tired of being nice with a sweet smile, a pretty face, submissive device.
She pulls that up where and kisses her nips.
A woman who's indifferent to men. No, she's my friend and she's a lesbian. Women's anger, Louise explains. A million second places in the Masters games. It's as real as a mountain. It's strong as the sea. Besides, an angry woman is a beauty. She's chosen to be a dyke like me, and she's a lesbian.
A dyke.
Lesbian, no man's land. Lesbian. Any woman can be a lesbian.
Yeah.
And the sexes do battle. They batter about. The men's are the sexes I will live without. I'll return to the bosom. Journey ends where there's no penis between us friends. No. See you again when you're a lesbian.
When you're a lesbian.
No man's land. Lesbian. Any woman can be a lesbian. Oh, any woman can be a lesbian.
Yeah. I was watching like the intro for Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was like Don Penny was saying, "Oh, which version?" It's like there's a million versions. What are you talking about? Well, you do like, what? You want the anime version, the like Americanized cartoon version, the kiddies version, by the looks of it, the the updated version, the original version, the uncut version, sort of thing. You know, it's like 12 different varieties of it. The link I posted to you on that one though is like if you go into like 12 seconds, it's obvious you got Freddy's hand on his crotch. It's supposed to be a pool of blood, but you can see the black mark at the top of the screen. It's like a navel, and then where the hand is in between the legs. That's the black and white hand of Michael Jackson, no doubt. You got the white spikes above it. And of course, 1, 2 versus 21. I mean, I noticed that one as first things I was thinking. Because the actor's name's called John England. And he was also in V. Coincidences never end. I'm trying to remember what it was in V. He might have been the gay alien. There's one gay character in the whole V series. He got called Galian, but obviously that was based on Stuart Swerdlow. Are we on now? Yeah, I mean, it's just like 21 is just like a whole conspiracy that's not mentioned all the time anyway. It's just ridiculous. 21. It's everything. 21, yeah. 21 is Bugs Bunny. It's 2 ears going into the head. You know, two above, 1 below. And it's also the symbol for V, because of the same rule. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Woo! Yeah, I can hear me! Oh, you think me on playback?
I really do. I think it's great. That's my favorite part of the show. I put radio silence in the program.
I listened to the where is John Perry anyway? I listened to a replay of the Friday one from the week or 2 back, and I got as far as the song, and it was just like ah! It sounded so bad. There was some heavy voice modulation going on there. That wasn't me. Hardly sounded like me. Well, it was, but somebody was like, it sounded like somebody was singing over it. At the same time, some Taiwanese girl, no doubt. It always sounded like Cantonese. It was terrible. Radiohead. I don't know if that's her name.
Radiohead. I mean, it's not from Taiwan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was that Luca Turilli song where it was like sang the intro of it. It was just, it was bad quality voice on that anyway, and you missed out me at the beginning, so
That was the one where I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's it. Freddy Krueger versus Michael Jackson, another complete coincidence. Yeah, I'm looking on YouTube, it's like the first link. Did you check out that Freddy Krueger cartoon thing?
I just downloaded it.
It's a cartoon. Oh no, that's another one. I've got like about 4 pages open on it. Oops. Yeah, Freddy Krueger song 1, 2, he's coming for you. If you go to like 12 seconds in, you see the black hand. He's falling asleep. I think we lesbianed him to death.
I love that song. Well, I guess we should say hello. This is American Freeman. I'm just waking up, so we get really more interesting later on in the show. Yeah.
You hear us on air. I'm high in the kites on the cloud. So there you go. Yeah. Well, yeah. 1, 2, Freddy's after you. I thought that would be a good intro song as well. Because 1, 2, if you reverse it, it's 21. I was saying that earlier. Might as well repeat it. Yeah, Agenda 21, just by complete coincidence. And Freddy Krueger was played by a person called John England, and also by complete coincidence, he was in the V series. I don't know if he was the Galian though. I'll have a look it up. He was in the original V series. And the black and red of stripy clothes, Freddy Krueger, are really sort of suspicious as well, I suppose. Black could be Black Lodge, red could be Rothschild. Black and red. It's full of like dodgy. Hmm?
You know why it's Nightmare on Elm Street, right? You do.
Well, Elm Street's in this town. I walk past it every day, so that's probably why. Because I'm a nightmare.
It's Dealey Plaza.
Oh, okay.
That's where
Dealey Plaza.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then also
Kennedy is assassinated. It's Nightmare on Elm Street. That's the name of the street where he shot on.
Okay. Well, elms are planted in sacred areas, isn't it? No. Like around Europe, I think it's elms are planted around sacred areas, and then they built all the original churches, like the pagan churches, were all done in what do they call it? Groves. Yeah, clearings and stuff or whatever. Where all the elms were planted, and so the pagan church just be like a collection of trees, just like had been planted hundreds of years back, and then they just like worshipped in that area, like in a clearing or grove. And when the Christians came over, they ripped them all out or whatever, most of them out, and then planted their wooden churches. I think they built them possibly from elm wood. And so the thing with assassination of the king, John F. Kennedy, and the Elm Street linkage is all to do with that. It's like kind of like pagan. Yeah. Revenge of paganism sort of thing.
It's also the second most popular name for streets in American towns and cities.
Correct, yeah, I had that one.
The first of which being Maine.
Maine, yeah, of course it would be.
Main Street is the number one most popular. Elm is the second most. And renaming streets to Martin Luther King Boulevard is the most common renaming of streets.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a guarantee you're going to be mugged right there.
Yeah, right, exactly. Why is it MLK? Martin Luther King Jr., a man who advocated peace, has had a street named after him in just about every city in the entire world, and it's the last street that you want to be on. Martin Luther King Boulevard? No way, thank you very much.
That's Robert Englund in The Nightmare on Elm Street. He's the one who played Freddy Krueger.
There's another street name you might not want to be on. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but when the Cypress structure collapsed almost 10 years ago. Oh, no, longer than that. Wow, almost 19 years ago in Oakland, they renamed Cypress Street to Nelson Mandela Way.
You want to get anything named after him?
Right through the worst neighborhood you could name something.
Yeah. Apartheid Road?
Yeah, right? No kidding.
Yeah. Nelson Mandela, there's so much lies spread about him. I mean, this might be one of them, but what I'd heard is, probably of more reliable people, is that he was originally in prison for planting bombs on buses. And he'd been doing it for years, and he finally got caught. And so he got imprisoned as a terrorist. Yeah. And his wife, Winnie. Yeah, that's it. I mean, they don't just, he was, known as a bit of a nutcase and doing all that sort of stuff anyway. I think he was known as, in political circles as well.
This Bishop Desmond Tutu, he advocated, putting tires around people's necks and soaking them in gasoline and lighting them on fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Great man of
in the good old days of
apartheid.
Yeah. Yeah,
right,
I know.
exactly.
They make out that all the blacks are innocent and all the whites. You're stupid blacks. Get the blacks out of South Africa. There's one thing wrong with South Africa. It's all the blacks.
I had a friend of mine tell me today that she's on her way to Johannesburg. I told her to bring me back some blood diamonds.
Winnie Mandela, she got arrested for torturing her servants. I mean, this is how poor they are, poor little blicks. They have house servants, and she'd been torturing them for years. And they came running out of the house screaming, blood welts and all this sort of stuff. She'd been whipping them. And she'd been doing it for years and years, all the time when he was in prison. So I think Nelson Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years or something. It was just so ridiculous. And they showed in the BBC News, all these people, UN agents obviously, going, "Free Nelson Mandela," and they were just they'd obviously been taught it from Whitey anyway to say it. And they're chanting it for 24 hours, hanging around all over the place. And, they obviously didn't even know why he got arrested or anything. They're making out he's some sort of innocent man who just got arrested just 'cause he's black.
Right. Well, you know, there's nothing worse
please
than
don't arrest me, Mr. Officer. What did I ever do to anybody apart from, you know, planting that bomb there deliberately, full of nails?
Right.
Why are you going to arrest me? Is it because I'm black? Please.
Well, you know, there's nothing worse than when poor people abuse their servants.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's tragic.
It's
tragic when poor people abuse their servants.
The average day-to-day house there. They were just living. They were living. Yeah, like.
Right, exactly. Sure. There you go.
She was living off sympathy a lot of the time as well. You see how all these idiots from the United Nations, idiotic idiots, all feeling sorry for her. The sort of people that give money to Africa, basically, who believe all the stuff, all the lies about Live Aid and all this. And, you know, they actually believe there is a starvation and a famine in Africa. It's no rubbish.
Sure.
It's stupid. I mean, you just look at the amount of actual footage there is of it, and then compare it to the amount of hours and hours and hours of campaigning, the amount of money they get out of it. You know, you just think of it as a publicity campaign or a money scam.
Well, sure.
Let's just say it's 100 hours of footage, which is a vast exaggeration. You could just have, like, people starving. You could just set up a death camp, take people in there, take them out after a week or a month or whatever, film it, and it's like, look at these poor little starving children. They don't know what's going on. You know, you could attach any story you like to it. And this poor little boy, he got set on fire. Oh, nobody's here to help. The United Nations, they are 2,000 miles away. Yes, no, actually, they're filming it. I know, it's, you know, just from start to finish, it was total whitewash on the public. I think that's what they call it. A lies told from beginning to end. That's my perspective on it, but I've, you know, heard more accurate reports, and you know, you just like trace it back logically. You don't fall for the stupid housewife thing, which they seem to target it for. You know, think of the poor starving children in Africa. No, if I turn the TV off, they don't exist.
Completely.
They just exist. The TV, yeah, they're just an image on the TV. How difficult is it to manufacture that image? And it's like, oh, so why are they all so fat? It's because they're starving. Oh, right. But, yeah, you don't feed me properly, and so, I keep them, like, feeling faint, and, like, you can see my ribs, and, yeah, they're starving, and they got big fat bellies. Mmm.
Well, you know, there's nothing worse than seeing people here in the United States who are standing there telling you, oh, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten in so long. Really, how long has it been? Oh, it's been like 2 hours. And you look at them and they outweigh you by about 300 pounds. You could fit like 2 of you, 3 of you inside their same level of skin. And you're like, really? You're that hungry? You couldn't live off your fat cells for like, say, the next year? Seriously? Life must be tough for you. I've been so poor, I can't eat. Yeah, that's how you got to be 380 pounds.
I know. And you can tell it's all fat as well, blubber and stuff. You know, if you punch them, you go. Blah, blah, blah.
In America, we literally live in Sleeper. The movie Sleeper is we have everything but the orgasmatron. We haven't had a stress pill. I haven't eaten in 2 hours. Yeah, I mean it's literally the movie Sleeper.
Yeah.
Sure. Definitely.
And all of us are dying.
No question.
And I'm the only one who's...
All of us are what?
I'm the one who has to play robot. Great. That commercial can't be as smart as Fox Cafe. You know? The forensics economist.
Well, you find it's a forensics...
Where's he?
I don't know.
You find it's a forensics economist, and we'll talk to him.
Man, are they smart. Have you heard that show?
No.
I have not listened to it.
It's a high IQ program. They actually are guests in other people's programs. They have that abledanger.blogspot.com, ABEL. That's their fan site. Yeah. I think the real site's like Cox Cafe. It's an acronym. But anyway, no, this you remind me of Sleeper. Sleeper's the best anti-NWO movie ever. It was 1970.
Eric Halfschmidt, they got an interview with him April 2007.
It was one of the few Woody Allen movies I actually enjoyed.
And it's a tribute to Harold Lloyd at the same time. Harold Lloyd, the physical You know, when you see Woody Allen hanging, he's in this cassette tape hanging out the window. That's classic Harold Lloyd from the 20s. Well, but the whole movie is really.
Oh, Harold Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harold Lloyd. Yeah. He was cool. He did all his own stunts. Bloody bra.
That Sleeper is a tribute to Harold Lloyd.
Yeah, Harold Lloyd.
The script, if you really, when you're watching it, you realize what are they talking about? It's specifically anti-New World Order. I mean, it has no other storyline. It's vicious. It's nasty. It's relentless. It doesn't give up. The whole movie.
He may get me to watch Woody Allen movies again.
Well, you really, once you understand the comedy and things like that, you watch the Woody Allen movies again, he is attacking them in a way that they can never find funny. And in a way that most people will never see ever, including me until recently. When you watch him again, he is just slamming them in the head. It's not even good humor. It's like, I hate you, I hate this religion, I hate being anything related to this, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. That's the whole message of his movies. That's like the blind
I think I got that from his movies. I think that's why his movies kind of drove me away. Sleeper I enjoyed. I think there was another one. I can't remember.
But I mean, like in Crimes and Misdemeanors, the blind doctor that's straight out of the Talmud. But really, it's loaded with this stuff, and you wonder, why do they hate him so much, and why do they want him never to work again? That's the reason.
Wow.
People like watching movies don't get it. They think it's just normal, funny, or whatever, and they don't realize that there's this other layer to it. It's that's Howard Stern does the same thing. Although Howard's really overt about it. He doesn't use secret references or whatever. But Woody Allen is just telling them how much he hates their gods at every moment. I don't know. I just realized this layer a while ago, and I've started rewatching the movies, and they're just as good as they ever were. But with this additional layer, I really go, oh my god, I never saw that before.
Yeah.
But Sleeper stands. Have you ever seen Love and Death? He plays a Russian Orthodox hero, Russian Orthodox Christian.
I don't know the names to any of the movies I've seen of his. I saw one where his mum dies, and then she becomes this ghastly spirit.
Oedipus Rex.
Yeah.
WRECKS.
Yeah. It's like she's got an Oedipus complex or Oedipus.
Yeah, but she's like hovering over the city until he eventually marries Julie Kavner, who's Marge Simpson.
Yeah. And then there was another one. He was dressed as a sperm. He was one of the sperms, and he went down through the. That's it. Yeah. And then the punchline at the end is
we're
that.
afraid to ask.
But he made one like last year called Whatever Works, which is as good as any of his films. It's as strong as any of them, and I watched that several times. That's really brilliant, and it's got that. She's a really good actress on her own. I saw some of her other movies. I'm stalling now in the air. But she also did that one with the one where they dig through the Walmart floor.
Yeah.
That was a really good. I'm blanking out. But and then Woody Allen's had a major resurgence because he can now finance his own movies and they don't cost that much. And like he had a really low time when what's her name was making all these false charges about him, and the media went along with it because they want him gone. Mia Farrow.
Yeah, the babysitter, or whatever, Mia Farrow. Yeah.
But the thing about it was that they made it out that she was the daughter raised in the house, and he's molesting the daughter, which is the furthest thing from the truth. She was a adopted child who Mama Mia there adopts everybody from Vietnam and dumps them in European boarding schools and things. She never sees him again. Yeah. She adopted this child with Andre Previn, her husband at the time, and he actually felt sorry for her and raised her in Europe by himself, and she went to a Swiss boarding school most of the year. That's Sun Yi. She never saw her adopted mother till she was age 26. At one point, like a stalker, she shows up at age 18 and manages to become an extra in Hannah and Her Sisters, doesn't meet Woody Allen or her mother, or her adopted mother. And it goes back to Switzerland having not met either one of them. And then, so at age 26, she shows up in America, and her mother sort of semi-ignores her, And so she falls in love with Woody Allen, but it's not. She's an adult who has never met either
At that time.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So these are strangers to her.
How he's molesting the children? They never met her before.
Yeah, yeah. So she's like half his age, but he's 54 or something.
Right, fine. But
yeah.
Then what kind of marriage is it that Mia Farrow and Woody Allen have? They live on the opposite side of Central Park from each other, and they never sleep. In the same house on the same night.
Yeah.
And he's so fastidious and so whatever that she has to build him a bathroom just to get him to come over. You know. I mean,
yeah, it's ridiculous. And if they're supposed to be, yeah, and if they're both Jews, well, I mean, isn't the Talmud like say you've got to have sex with 6-year-old girls and stuff? It's all speak fuss about anyway.
I don't think that's the issue, but I just think he's so paranoid and so out there. But it's not that he's doing something wrong, you know.
No, they were trying to imply that he was like fiddling with her since she was
he's
a
not
child.
religious. No, I mean this is someone who hates Judaism more than anyone else.
Yeah.
And so he's not following Talmud rules. He's actually reading the Talmud and thinking, how can I screw these people? You know.
Is he actually a Jew though? I haven't actually found out.
What?
Woody Allen, is he actually a Jew?
Who?
No, he's not. Woody Allen.
Woody Allen?
He is.
Yeah.
But
he was raised in a Jewish household.
He's
yeah,
very,
sort
very
of born this way. Yeah. I knew all the rest. I wasn't sure if he actually was a Jew or is a Jew.
No, he's a self-described, self-loathing Jew, so you know, I guess.
Well, no, it's worse than that. He's opposed. That's what all the references are in the movies that are. You have to really know these Talmud references to know what he's talking about. It's multiple layers. And then there's this brilliant '60s writing and stuff. Did you ever see that he remade his Broadway hit? He had 2 Broadway plays. Play It Again, Sam, but he also had Don't Drink the Water, which there were all these actors who wanted to play the Woody Allen role. John Cusack did it in Bullets Over Broadway, but the best one was Michael J. Fox before he really got bad on Parkinson's. His last big role was with Blossom. They did Don't Drink the Water on ABC television.
Mayim Bialik.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is a brilliant
Blossom,
play.
that series that went on forever.
What?
Blossom was that series that went on forever about a 14-year-old girl or something. Yeah.
Mayim Bialik is the actress's name.
But that Don't Drink the Water, the remake, Woody Allen is in it with Julie Kavner, but that's not the Woody Allen role. Michael J. Fox plays the Woody Allen role. He does it brilliantly. It's really something.
Really? His convenient disease doesn't get in his way.
Oh no, this is the last thing before he really got bad.
Yeah. I saw some movie you did before. Yeah.
But I mean, this
I'll
was
see if I can.
a real tour de force this thing, and they're in a Russian embassy, and these are the Americans that rush in there and demand to be saved. I mean, they took a picture at the wrong time, and the Russians are trying to kill them and all this stuff. And there's a Russian Orthodox priest who's been there for 9 years or something, and that's Dom DeLuise. They have to sneak them out. It's really something. I don't know. But, I mean, this is somebody you can admire who's Jewish. I mean, this guy's really something. And his wonderful writing from the 60s, he has collected in 3 books. They were really magazine articles that he wrote. Without Feathers and Side Effects. And that's the 3 books. There's one more. Can't remember it.
The Secret of My Success is by Michael J. Fox. That was before he had his
Right,
whatever.
no, that's in the 80s. That's
1987. Yeah.
I downloaded that one recently.
Yeah, that's mid-80s. That's like 85, 86.
Right, that was
87.
Classic Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Family Ties and all that.
Right.
Now, that's really sad.
2 years after Back to the Future.
You couldn't feel bad about Christopher Reeve. That was just, you just wanted to mock that. But Michael J. Fox, you sincerely felt bad for him. He was a good guy, as far as I know. And he did great stuff. He didn't deserve that.
In 2009, he did a film called The Magic 7. Yeah, I know 7. And he played the role of Marcel Maggot.
Oh, I see. You're rather attracted to that because of the name, yeah. I see.
Yeah, I just noticed it. Yeah, Fox as well, because my name in code is Fox as well. 6 and associated with letters FOX. And Michael Jackson. You might as well bring out the old cliches about Michael J. Fox. Yeah, Marcel Maggot. Of course, it's.
Yeah. But I almost feel like I have to defend some of the people I like. You know, him and Howard Stern. Woody Allen, Howard Stern, Lenny Bruce, people like that. People that have been maligned in the press because the Jews want to get rid of them. I mean, they
and James L. Jones is in it as well.
They fixed it so he couldn't work anywhere. They took his cabaret card in New York. They wouldn't let him play anywhere. They would arrest him in the middle of the show, and they couldn't even charge him at a certain point because he knew how to undo the laws because he hadn't done anything. And they just arrested him in the middle. They would arrest him in the middle of the show just to end his stand-up comedy. You know, and just let him go at the station.
Who is this?
Lenny Bruce.
Who's this that they did that to?
Lenny Bruce.
Lenny Bruce.
Yeah. And this is the guy that invented stand-up comedy. Before it was all contrived bits, you know, like Abbott and Costello, things like that. And this is the first guy that went out there and just sort of spoke, well, not extemporaneously, but it appeared to be, you know.
I thought Abbott and Costello were quite good, but yeah, I suppose it was contrived.
It's a contrived bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going out and doing a skit like Saturday Night Live or something. This is where you're just talking out loud. This is where his two disciples, George Carlin and Richard Pryor, copied him, and then it created a whole raft of these people. Bill Cosby, even Woody Allen would go out there and do it. He did stand up really well. But although his was so scripted to the point where he would wipe his glasses at the same time every night on stage, Woody Allen.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean that's how compulsive he is. But it was great stuff. You can get those on album. I don't know, but and Howard Stern did the same thing Woody Allen did on the radio. It was all contrived little 30-second sound checks and things on the radio before that. Howard Stern got on there, no music, no nothing, and would just speak for 5 solid hours if necessary. I mean, I guess there were some commercials, but he, didn't even need a guest, didn't need anything. That's the Lenny Bruce style, and they wanted Howard off the air. They demonized him on television. They would take his radio show and film it, and that was a good idea, but they wouldn't let him control it, and they re-edited it to the point where every woman in America thinks Howard Stern is the devil to this day, and most people in general think Howard Stern is like Satan or something. If you heard the radio show, you realize that's exactly the opposite of what goes on in the show. The real comedy of Howard Stern is, he might beg the women to take their clothes off when there is a woman in the studio once in a blue moon, but the answer is always no. You know what I mean? So honey, you're here to promote the 500-man anal gangbang. So let's see the merchandise. He says this sarcastically as a loser because he never sees anything like that. And no matter what, I'm Pennsylvania Dutch now, Howard. That would be against my religion. I could never do that. But you're here promoting the 500-man anal gangbang. Don't you think it's a little hypocritical? Well, I'm Pennsylvania Dutch now. You know, no matter what, the answer is no. That's why it's funny. And he's a total loser. They portray him as a bully somehow. How is he a bully? He's a zero. I mean, that's why you can identify with him. He's I have a tape of him from '86 where he's punishing the audience, begging to have someone to be the first naked woman on radio because he's never achieved it. 2 days of torture, and finally someone agrees to do it. They pay a stripper to go down there. One of the fans does because he can't get this to happen. I mean, people don't grasp the comedy here because of how it was portrayed on television. I don't know.
What was the movie made about him? There was a movie.
That was
White Parts.
That was actually very good. The movie about it was good. Yeah, it was based on his first book. But he
Of the same
help
name.
on his first book. The guy that wrote the one about Rolling Thunder and the Bob Dylan review. I can't think of his name right now. Ransell wrote about half the book. But it was still a good book, and the movie was excellent. Private Parts. I mean, the Fugees beers I can defend them. They're great.
What about Mel Brooks?
Quite good.
Defend him in front of the SS.
I'll do that too. You can defend, just bring up Brooks films. Bring up his own original book that he wrote. He wrote Get Smart with Buck Henry. Get Smart is control.
Yeah, I just
versus
like
chaos.
those movies.
Yeah. He wrote
Valley
the producers.
continues to make them.
The original producers with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder, which is really the Ron Paul story. He puts on the campaign and raises all this money and then drops out and keeps the money.
I like Spaceball.
Yeah, that's good. It's a long form.
Yeah, like
Empire
the
Strikes Back
Spaceballers.
parody.
Yeah.
But Blazing Saddles, which Richard Pryor wrote more than half the movie.
History of the World Part 1.
Film.
Richard Pryor does not appear in Blazing Saddles, and he wrote it.
Brilliant film.
Yeah. But
One of
Brooks
the
Films
best.
also gave us the remakes of The Fly.
Did he? Did he do
With
the
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's horrible.
Those are Brooks films. And
Are they?
Really?
He married that one woman who, what's her name? Mrs. Robinson, Anne Bancroft.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And Anne Bancroft has written philosophy books. I mean, good ones. Under her own name. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, any other Jews you want me to defend?
Robin Williams, Jeff Ross.
Oh, man.
I can think of a lot of them that claim to be Jewish. So.
No, I know, but there are you know, it's not
It's synonymous with being in Hollywood, isn't it? It's you've got to be synonymous. Yeah, whatever. They all claim to be Jewish at some time.
At some point, I think to make your way in Hollywood, you have to agree to do some film that has a Jewish scene in it.
Or if you're black, you have to dress as a woman. That's why Chappelle dropped out.
Or if you're black, you have to dress as a what?
As a woman?
Oh, right, sure, because you know.
Oh yeah, that's so
the
offensive
reason
in you as well.
Dave Chappelle quit over that.
Martin, Tyler Perry. Ice Cube hasn't yet.
Do you know the reason they had the Chappelle show? How he got the Chappelle show?
I do.
Oh, did I tell you the
I
story?
do. Why don't you tell everyone?
He won the contest, the Get Jackie's Job
right.
contest on the Howard
Yep.
Stern show. Every major comedian was a contestant in that. I mean, not every, but tons of them. And all the losers, they assembled the show crank anchors for the losers as the booby prize. They all did phony phone calls, including Chappelle. But the reason that they didn't give him Jackie's Job, they begged him not to take it because it would destroy his career. He was the best one to take Jackie Martling's job, but that would have killed his career.
Well, sure. He would have spent the rest of his time being
Abused on the Stern
second
show.
or third man to somebody else.
And so they made that deal for him on Comedy Central then and now. You don't keep ownership of your program because it's in a weird legal limbo. It doesn't even get replayed because Viacom and HBO own Comedy Central, so that there's this weird legality between the two companies, and your show goes into limbo. It can't be released. It can't. So Howard Stern arranged this landmark deal for Chappelle for the prize for this program. He had ownership. But there was so much pressure to do all this crap that he didn't want to do, and this dress as a woman thing, he ran away from his own program.
Which is why he disappeared for almost a year, then came back and did like another half season, and then that was it.
He didn't even. They didn't air much of that. But,
No, well,
then he got the Guinness Book of World Records in San Francisco. Right after that point, he did 8 hours of stand-up on stage. I wish I had a tape of that.
Wow.
It must exist because he won the Guinness Book of World Records for that. 8 hours on stage.
Really? I thought David Icke could have got that. He did 9 hours.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, David Icke did 9
Guinness
hours
people
recently in
there.
London. That's that already.
In America, people don't realize that this is like the Budweiser Book of World Records. You know, I mean, it's a beer company. It may,
Yeah.
You know, seriously, in America, they think it's some dignified thing. They have no idea Guinness is beer. No idea.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think that's true. I just don't think people make the connection. Because I drink Guinness. I love Guinness, and I've loved Guinness
Okay, there's Don.
since,
And
well,
there's about two others.
there's more than just me. There's a
I
number
don't
of people who
drink, and I
enjoy
know
Guinness.
Guinness
I
is
just
beer,
don't think.
but-
I don't think
it's
there's
not
a
exactly
connection.
Beer. It's beer with a meat and potatoes dinner that goes along with it, but
Yeah, they do.
But
They
Guinness,
chuck,
yeah,
you know,
Guinness is
potato.
beer. It's a meal in a bottle.
right. But so anyway, Chappelle won that, and then Stern thought for sure he would come on and explain what the problem was because he was the impetus for all this to happen. He gave him the show, and then he ran away from it, and he appeared on the Actors Studio, which made no sense at all. And then he even went on Oprah and talked about these things, and people act like it never happened. You see it on YouTube; they've got the clips where Chappelle tells the real truth about what goes on in this industry.
Sure.
With this crazy Zionism,
Right.
and you have to dress as a woman because they want you compromised. Yeah, did you ever see Martin?
Right. They need to be able to have something over you.
Right, Martin Lawrence, who's really brilliant. At one point, was running around in Hollywood back alleys, screaming, "They're trying to get me," and freaking out. People thought he was on coke or something. I mean, he was having a nervous breakdown because he didn't want to do this stuff.
And Dave Chappelle talks about, for those of them in the industry who have worked with him, Martin Lawrence is a hard-nosed, hard-working, dedicated, competent, intelligent
He's not insane.
human being who wasn't, strung out on crack cocaine and screwing whores and running around. Now, he was a dedicated. He just suddenly cracked because he realized what was being done.
Yeah.
And what kind of a level of pressure does it take to push somebody who works 13, 14, 15-hour days for a week and a half straight, weeks out of a year? What kind of pressure does it take to finally get them to crack to run around in the back alleys of Hollywood screaming they're trying to get me, unless they really are trying to get you?
Right. People always think that there's no reason for those things. There's a definite reason for those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's cause
Sure.
and fact.
No question. But of course, none of that gets covered in the media. None of that gets talked about. None of that gets
Because that would lead back
shown
to
anywhere
being
except
bad.
YouTube and things like that. And so, of course, it can't be true.
Right.
Yeah. Martin Lawrence was admitted to a psychiatric hospital earlier today. His roommate is Ezra Pound.
This is today's news. You read the news report.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They just think
Is
you're
that today's
crazy.
news?
No. Ezra Pound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Ezra Pound's corpse. Yes, his roommate was Ezra Pound, who's been dead for like
Well, no.
How many years?
That was just a reference to the fact that they locked him into a psychiatric hospital for years because he was a threat to the security elements of their system.
Yeah.
So,
I don't get the one
and
about black
you
transvestite women. Why is that even like controversial? Because for like at least 500 years in acting, you have men dress as women and women dress as men. So what's the big controversy?
That's not common in America.
Okay, I'm not even talking about pantomime.
Well, no, that's not true because like there's secret societies at Harvard that it's all men and they dress up as.
No, in acting,
There
it's
are
quite
secret
normal to have
societies
men dressed as
where
women.
It comes from England, but
Yeah.
it's not commonplace comedy in America to dress as a woman.
Okay.
Unless you're black.
Yeah, I mean, I could never identify with a country where it's commonplace to go down to the pub dressed as a woman. That, Madame George. That's not going to happen. Don and I are going out to the bar. I'm not dressing up. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I thought you
There's
just
like
meant on
zero
stage.
chance of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on stage it's quite normal. That's what I mean. In plays and stuff,
I would
it's not
hit someone
considered
for
unusual.
suggesting
Right, but But I think Maggot's question is how is that in its perpetration upon blacks, especially black men, how is
Yeah.
that
Offensive or whatever.
getting
You know. How's
something
that
over
special?
on them? Right,
Mm.
right. How does that demean them to a point that they can be controlled
In
within
particular,
the element of the society? Is what I think Maggot's question is.
I'm not positive why they did it. there's a lot of material on that you can find on the net, but I'll tell you, it did happen, and it's still happening today. And that
possibly
Chappelle explains it. Not that I can reproduce that what he was explaining. But,
well, and everything that I've seen from him explaining it is still slightly ambiguous, as though it's almost taboo for him to even be talking about that it exists. So it must be something. I mean, and I guess the only real way that I can try to explain it is this. Especially in the United States, homosexuality, cross-dressing, transgender, etc., all of these things, first of all, are considered to be questionable anyway. There is a rather knee-jerk reaction against overt examples. But as you break down into smaller subsections of the populace, it gets even more and more vehemently building hatred levels. And in the the American black experience, homosexuality, while it's just as rampant and existent in their racial cultural society, is so much
Can we stop him?
more vilified
It's coming out.
than it is in...
He's drowning. Can you hear him drowning?
He's coming out. He's coming out.
Quicksand or something.
We can come out on air.
Don is speaking again.
No, I see what you're getting at. It's they got a big hang up about it. That's what we'd see it as. I didn't see the big deal. Yeah.
I'm not really forced into it. I'm not doing it either.
Dressing as a woman doesn't make you gay. It does. There's two totally different
but
things.
in America, it does.
Yeah. I get that. But okay, over here, dressing as a woman doesn't mean you're homosexual. I mean, it's just like no relevance at all. In pantomimes, everybody does it. All the men dress as women, all the women dress as men. At times, and I think it's actually part of your like acting career or whatever. You have to dress as a woman at some point. It's it's just playing different roles. Can you play a role as a woman? Can you play the role of a handicapped? Can you play the role of a sportsman? That sort of thing. Can you play the role of a racist or whatever? Can you play the role of a bully? Can you play the role of a victim? That sort of thing. It's just acting talents. So
that was something nobody ever understood when the Rolling Stones appeared on the front of "Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby?" All dressed as women. That was a complete blank in America. Nobody got that.
Was it? Nobody got it. It just doesn't mean anything over here. I don't know. I suppose it might do a little bit, but it's like people aren't bothered about it. It's something that people do, especially young people. It's a bit creepy if the old person did it, especially if they had like a wig and makeup on and stuff. That'd be a bit weird.
Oh, how about Hillary Clinton dressing up as a man in her little pantsuits?
We'd be happy. Hitlery.
I
I don't know what to do like that.
It's got a mutated plastic stretchy face. It's horrible. Last time I saw it was on the head of a cow as well.
Hillary, okay.
Why have we got this hang-up about clothes? I mean, clothes aren't there to cover you up. Clothes are there just to keep you warm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't wear virtually sod all. It's only because the wife keeps telling me, put some pants on. Yeah.
Yeah. Slightly different. Over in England, like, you have to wear clothes most of the time. But people don't really care anyway. They see people in shorts. But, it's like all weathers over here.
It's terrible weather. I lived in
Yeah.
Seattle. They said it was the same weather as London.
Probably. I think there's a few areas in America that have got the same weather.
If you can find another planet, I want to move to it. I got it with this. But see, the best part of the show is it's not really dead silence right here. There's music going on that we can't hear.
There is?
Well, there will
Okay.
There will
Oh,
be.
there will be. Yeah. I got it. I was thinking, great, you got crazy.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that.
So what were
Lenny Bruce is
what are we
on there,
talking
as
about
Ron Perry's
anyway?
the most 50s game.
Um,
I don't know. I was trying to.
He'll edit it in later.
Lenny Bruce, Howard Stern. That was about it.
Yeah, Jewish.
Oh,
film
those no
directors.
jobs.
We didn't have very many to defend. That was about it.
Defend a random Jewish film director.
Oh, no,
Movie
he
director, so.
wasn't random. I believe he was great.
Yeah. No, I mean, if we do it as a game show,
Very short-lived.
so it's a game show. Yeah. Defend the Jews.
Yeah, it was an impossible task, so we failed at that. No, anything else.
So let's move on.
Yeah.
We're looking for other topics. Funny.
Oh, so 45 minutes into it, you're finally ready to get into something actually real to talk about. Woo! Glad to hear it.
Okay then, boys and girls. With this news about the this very amateurish looking bombing, supposed failed bombing thing in New York.
Oh, with the fertilizer, there wasn't even explosive grades, fireworks, and an SUV that is not the conducive to the type of explosion that was supposed to be done. Yeah, ridiculousness.
Well, I'm just taking bets. I'm making a book on this, whether they'll blame it on the Taliban, Al Qaeda, or the Tea Party movement. So.
Actually, there's already been there was a video released by Taliban members in Pakistan that they are claiming currently in the major media as having claimed responsibility for the event.
Yeah, I know that, but that don't mean sod all, does it?
Yes, the Taliban did it. We were funded by the Tea Party.
So, I mean, the latest so-called Bin Laden tape, the Al Qaeda tape, has been analysed, and it was one they showed 5 years ago. So, you know, I mean, you can't believe anything.
Well, but that's exactly it. Of course, we can't believe anything. I'm just what they're claiming is that there's a balding, middle-aged white man who abandoned the SUV outside of the building that it was parked at, and that they have currently a tape in possession that was released by members of the Taliban in Pakistan that are claiming, that are saying, supposedly claiming, see what great a thing we have done against the Satan in the United States. We will do more bombings in U.S. cities, and everything else. But it's like a short, barely a minute-long tape, apparently, and they never mention anything about it being in an SUV or it being New York City or anything else. And the assumption is in the tape is that the actual event took place and that the explosion was pulled off. So I think their goal is to try to keep it relegated to a terrorist plot that may have been funded through militants in the United States. And I guarantee you that's probably where they're going to try and create the source of it. You know, it was terrorists working through a militant organization in the U.S. Whether or not they tie it to the Tea Party, I don't think they're going to be able to.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. In Times Square with cameras everywhere, who's going to do that? You got to be totally nuts. And to change your change your clothes in view of all the cameras.
Right.
It's nonsense.
Well, sure. It screams false flag from the get-go.
Yep. Man, you wouldn't have thought the FBI would be that incompetent. Maybe they are, though.
Oh, well, the FBI is only as competent as what the official line is that they're allowed to share with people. God forbid the FBI actually let you know that they were in on the plot and set it up and orchestrated it. Although I guarantee you there are people in the upper echelons who probably know exactly how it was set up. But yeah, I mean, there isn't a single layer to it that doesn't scream false flag terror. And I think.
Well, it's amazing.
I think there do exist actual elements of groups that are trying to strike terror into somebody's heart or into a nation's
They try to
identity.
strike terror in your heart so they can pass legislation?
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I think there have been actual terrorist events perpetrated by real terrorists. I just don't think any of them have happened inside the United States.
That would, again, be the CIA.
Not since the Maine.
Yeah.
The Maine was fake. Remember the
Well,
Maine?
sure. Mm-hmm.
It could happen,
Oh, yeah.
though. It could happen. I guess.
Theoretical. Sure. You know, if you suspend all levels of belief, it could definitely happen.
In a movie, maybe.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Movies are the greatest
on what
place to
these
find
things
false
are.
flag terrorists.
Yeah, these
But
things are
but on the. Yeah, they are. I mean, everything magically gets put on camera, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's snuff films. That's what Hawks Cafe talks about. That they're filmed on purpose, so that they're negotiable instruments. Then they're used as
Well, sure. Well, and we've talked about the filming of events, the individuals that were arrested on 9/11 who were filming the World Trade Centers.
Right. Even
The
the
building.
Manson thing, Tex Watson stole an NBC truck and
Sure.
filmed it on 8mm. With Pelham
So
cameras.
yeah, you could. Yeah, if you were going to go mass murder a bunch of people, why would you bring a camera with you? Oh, right, because
it's
somebody
set
in the
up
group
that
was.
way.
Yeah, because it was set up so that there could be actual video footage of it after the fact. Yeah, sure. So,
Zapruder
as
Zapruder
far
also
as
had Bell and Howell equipment.
right.
How did he know when to shoot?
Yeah, exactly. How do you know when to turn the camera on and focus it right where you're supposed to if you didn't already have prior notice?
And the guy that
Well,
got
and it's
the Not Gay brothers, who were filming the gay documentary about the firemen, who happened to be in the right place at the right time because they worked for Canada's Mine Box and all that.
I'm not familiar with that. No,
You've heard of the well, I call them the Not Gay brothers because, I mean, when you're filming about how sexy firemen are, I mean, what kind of film is this? But,
right.
right. I mean, they're there for some other purpose. But when he manages to get the shot of the first building with the first plane getting hit, he is filming the building, not the plane moving. He goes to the target, where his brother, of course, paints the target with a laser.
Sure.
I mean, they're
and
filming the
you know,
target, and the plane comes to the target. They don't film the. If you
I
heard
think-
the noise, you would go to the noise. You wouldn't go to the target. How do you know what the target is?
Right.
Right.
Well, but
And especially with all
why
those
else do you
tall
think that
buildings
they've
around
told-
where the sound is
Right.
the sound is echoing.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that plane came across New York, I mean, the sound would be echoing off all sides of all buildings. You wouldn't know what direction it was coming from or where it was going to.
See,
Yeah,
Hawks Cafe has it boiled down to
Be like,
they call it spot, shoot, snuff, spin, and spoil. That's the MO of the perpetrators. They have a spotter, they have a shooter for the camera. They kill, and what they're shooting is a snuff film essentially that they can threaten other people with. Then the media spins the event, and then the evidence is spoiled, so you can't prove anything.
Well, sure. And why else do you think it is that they will not replay any of the live feed footage?
Oh, I have 42
Anywhere.
gigabytes, the entire live feed from every
Well,
possible channel.
I don't mean from the channels. I mean the live feed of these buildings as was actually coming into
That's
the
sort of ludicrous today.
news
People realize
studios.
how phony it is. Like the nose comes out the other end.
Well, right, exactly. why else would they completely pull it and make it banned from television? So that somebody couldn't come in and show you, oh, wait a second, here you go, look at this. There's no plane there. All you see is explosion.
Originally, they didn't want you to see the Zapruder film either. When it was revealed that there was a film, they only allowed one reporter to see it, and do we know what his name was? Dan Rather.
I don't.
Dan Rather.
And for 20 years, he was the only
That's the way it was.
Cronkite from the World Federalist Society.
So, yeah,
I'm looking for another planet.
The whole supposed attempted bombing in New York City falls right within the same type of a category. It was done in a place where there's tons of cameras, tons of people to overhype an event and make it seem as though something occurred that didn't. Yeah. And then you get the false videotape perpetrated upon the populace, claiming responsibility.
What gives it away is the initial photographs where, coppers are standing, all the public's being held back, but the coppers know it's not real because they're stood almost at the side of the damn thing that's supposedly going to explode.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So they knew it wasn't going to explode.
It's going to explode. Of course. Well, it's like the Oklahoma City bombing, in which only one of 3 bombs went off, and we're supposed to believe that the guy acted all by himself. They knew what was going on. They just...
Wasn't it a truck bomb? You see what I mean? When you see local footage, you see them taking them out of the building. The truck bomb is irrelevant.
Right. Exactly. And so the only thing that makes me question is, was this set up to actually have exploded, do minimal levels of damage, and then be used as a blame source for higher levels of damage in a closed area? Or was it just caught too quickly as being something stupid? I mean, was it too obvious? Did they set it up as a patsy event, and unfortunately it became too obvious that they had to shut it down before the area event took off?
They had Al Husseini, their CIA guy there, and they had to remove him quickly from the story. He's John Doe number 2. And they have 12 or 13 cameras were trained on the scene, and they won't let us see any of them because they wouldn't use them in the trial because that would have made them public evidence.
Right, and then once they were released, that critical those few.
Never released.
Okay, well, I thought I'd come across something that stated that they were released, but all of them blanked out at the exact same moment because all cameras apparently were having their videotapes replaced at the exact same moment. Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry. There's so many of these things.
More like
I can't remember which ones. Sorry, what was that?
We only have one story. If people don't grasp that, it's one story all the time. There is only one story.
Well, that's because they get so
so
bogged down in the players.
Right, because
if you look at
people are pre-programmed to this. Well, people are pre-programmed to accept the same story over and over again in different fashions. Why do romantic comedies that all follow the basic storyline? Why do you need to make more than one? Why do you have to make 700 of them a year? Because you just change characters, you change names, you change locations, all of a sudden it's a brand new movie. Action films, same thing. Sci-fi films, same thing. It doesn't make it... We are pre-programmed on a mass level to accept that if you change names and location, the story's different.
Well, it doesn't fool me. Anyway.
Don't build connective correlations between the story unfolding in one place and the story unfolding in another place, because to do that would require us to use the brains that we have.
There was only 2 storylines in the 80s. There was the urban assault vehicle story, Stripes. And there's the the jurisdiction joke. The one about, oh, the local cop is getting in the way of the federal jurisdiction. That's Beverly Hills Cop. That story's repeated so many times in a row, and it's funny because those are military ops.
Sure.
We're to be trained. That's what they're comedy, right? They're not comedy. They're military ops, and we're being brainwashed. Beverly Hills Cop and Stripes are the two fundamental comedies that were available. In a million
names. Well, even today, the CSI and what have you. There's always conflict between the local sheriff and the naval intelligence or whatever it happens to be.
Right, and the upper level echelon intelligence is the one actually trying to solve the real crime, and they're being interfered by the lower level.
No, it's the other way around. I tried to cover it up. The local cop is the good one.
Not if I understand Caribbean correctly. When he references CSI or NCIS or Criminal Minds or all these other TV shows that are out there between.
Yeah, it's the local cop that's trying to hinder real investigation. But does real investigation ever take place? Nah.
Well, yeah.
No. Biggest guns wins.
Mind you, all these shows show that these people get to violate the law in order to solve the crime.
Yeah, and they got bigger guns than everybody else. That's what's important.
And they got bigger guns.
Biggest guns.
Right. Yeah, you have to obey them because they got bigger guns and they're smarter than you.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it Men in Black lampoon that? And that's like an old cliche on a Gitchy or something. Like they had people with big guns. Naked Gun, I think, was mainly jokes about the size of his gun. Police Academy references to the size of the gun.
Sure.
So on and so forth. Obvious phallic symbology. But yeah, I mean, the government agents have the biggest guns. And biggest guns wins every time. Because, if you're getting shot in the head, obviously, you're going to die more if the gun's really big than if the gun's small. Because if the bullets penetrating your skull, going out back to the skull.
Shame that the Taliban are proving exactly the opposite. Just because NATO's got the biggest guns doesn't mean to say they're winning. In fact, NATO's no further forward now than it was on the first day it invaded Afghanistan.
The Taliban want to stop the opium production. That's against the rules.
Yes, you're not allowed to do that. Record levels of opium and heroin production now coming out of Afghanistan. I mean, at one time it was only 5 or 6% of the world's production. Now it's 95% of the world's production since our brave forces went in there.
Excellent. It's all happening according to plan. If you've read the book Mission Earth by L. Ron Hubbard, it's following that plot line exactly. There's the organisation. There was on this planet called Voltaire, which is a slight reference to the philosopher, and they're part of this organisation called the CIA, Coordinated Information Apparatus. This book was written in the 1980s, and yeah, I know. Geniuses of planet Earth haven't really bothered reading this book because it was restricted to Scientology, but you could get it in hold of any public library. So they were using planet Earth in order to extract as much drugs as possible. I got it all free from public libraries.
That's how I read it.
Yeah. I know, it's quite bizarre. Nobody ever mentions it. It's just so complete coincidences. And it was mainly the opium line and poppy production. Lombard-Hist was using Sultan Grease, his agent on Earth, to extract as much drugs as possible to dope the elite on his planet and take over the government. So yeah, it's got absolutely no correlation to real life at all, especially when he says he's been on Earth before. He's nobody. Is this just complete coincidences? It's just like words strung together in randomness, and the fact like Operation Snow White, just complete luck. If you heard of that one, when L. Ron Hubbard infiltrated the FBI, basically took over the FBI from his Sea Org, It was just like his
L. Ron Hubbard took over
his
the
group of
FBI.
sea
Okay.
vessels. Yeah, this is according to his propaganda. He sort of infiltrated them, and because he wanted to find out why he was being ripped off or something like that. So he had agents all over the FBI. That was the purpose of Snow White.
Right,
I've got
because L.
no
Ron
idea if
Hubbard
that's
never rips anyone off.
No, of course not. Just came out of magic mushrooms in his head, exploded, and he wrote a 10-volume book, which nobody ever mentions because it's all complete coincidence. Especially when you got a character called Alejandro Jones in it, and he's controlled by the CIA and FBI, and it was written in the 1980s, and he's from Texas. Yeah. Never mind about that.
Yep. Well, no.
And you got characters, other characters.
Does art imitate life or reverse?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like I suppose you could say it was the Masonic organisation that set up these actors in order to play out the roles carried out in the books. But also, it's a complete coincidence that Alex Jones has links to Scientology on his website.
Really?
He did until recently, yeah. And a caller called in.
Boggles my mind.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. I've had friends of mine who have delved into it to find out more stuff about it, and the instant that they go, whoa, this is too weird for me, this is screwed up, and try to get out, they wind up, the Scientologists wind up making their lives a living hell for years on end. It's like, once you're in, you can never get out. It's as bad as the Mafia, it's as bad as the Freemasons, it's as bad as, any of these societies. And if it's just nothing more than a mindset, if I choose not to follow the mindset, why should I be hunted down and chased and have my life vilified because of it? I mean, they're screwy. Of course, L. Ron Hubbard at one point made the comment that the best way to control people is to start your own religion. Fastest way to make money is to start your own religion.
That's right. He
Which is
started.
funny. He said that just before he started his religion.
That's right. Yeah, and it cost him nothing as well.
Mm-hmm.
He built his religion up out of donations from old women, probably like names like Elizabeth of Windsor or whatever. Yeah, charitable donations, one-way donations.
The power of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Dianetics.
The hidden inner secret circles. Like that isn't the first identification of the Freemasonic cult. The instant you have to pay
I think
money
I got
or be initiated into inner secret circles. Yeah, they're messed up. Of course, Tom Cruise.
I've been approached by them loads of times, but I've never actually paid them anything. Yeah, Tom Cruise.
By Scientologists?
John Travolta. Yeah.
Right.
John Travolta accidentally made a movie based on his books.
Accidentally, he just accidentally made a movie called Battlefield Earth, based off of L. Ron Hubbard's book, and he's a Scientologist, but just accidentally made the movie. Thank God it's bombed.
Yeah. Did it? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I saw it. It's alright.
Well,
actually.
at least it did here, as far as I know. But
yeah. They wore enormous boots, which is kind of
books.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Very, so. But anyway.
On a lighter note.
It's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, on a lighter note, the best movie I've seen in recent times is Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson in Bucket List. I thought that was brilliant.
The Bucket List. Haven't seen it. Guess I'm not old enough
it's a brilliant film.
to appreciate it. That's the one with can't remember who the other guy in it is, but where comes to the end, coming down towards the end of their life, they decide that there's a list of things that they want to do and go ahead and do it.
That's the one.
They're the list. Okay, yeah. I've seen previews for it, and I've heard really great things about it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this one. They both got terminal cancer or something, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
and they've got this list of things they want to do before they die.
Yep, and they
it's
start
called
doing
bucket
it.
list.
They just
Yeah.
yes.
You know, that might be
I might have
rather
seen
easy
it.
for some people and far more difficult for others.
Mm.
For example, things on my bucket list might be like visit Europe once, or go bungee jumping. Things on Estratios lists might be, you know, completely remove the New World Order and hang them all for treason. So, some people's bucket lists might be a little easier to... Pardon?
If you're going to Europe, I have to go to Africa to get one more continent.
There you go.
I have 3
There you go.
continents
Fair
under my
enough.
belt right now. So if you're going to be adding another one, I need at least one more just to continue to trump you.
just to stay on top. Bravo. Bravo. And if my goal is to eliminate the New World Order, yours is to... no answer. Fair enough.
Talking again, Maggot. Help us out.
No, institute the Freeman Society as the only form of law and governance. Get rid of these governments. We govern ourselves. Sod it. Throw them all away.
Which brings me all the way back around finally to something that I had wanted to talk about today, and I'm glad to finally be able to do it. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today and expressing the Freeman identities and the whole concept of common law and everything else. And the response that I got back was, well, you're not taking into consideration human nature. People won't accept responsibility for themselves, and so the system never works because there, and this is a direct quote, there has to be oversight, end quote. And I wanted to get... Well, and that's what I brought up too. Is that and that's what I brought up. It's what 1,164 years. That the Byzantine Empire lasted.
It's 137.
Right. Well, and I brought up both of those things, and once again, because they aren't taught or given as elements of instruction through our school system here in the United States. Right, most people have never heard of it. Regardless of its existence or not, they just, even if they have heard of it, it's been in such small forms and such limited capacities that it doesn't provide the level of understanding. What I wanted to bring up was, do you really think that people lack the capacity to be that responsible? Do you really think that people can hide behind the concept of human nature, that most people are just self-centered and ignorant and stupid and whatever else, etc.? Because I think that's where most people try to
So
tend
do you want
to,
such a person controlling everybody else?
who reject the system. Well, most people...
I mean, to say you need oversight, that means you're going to put somebody in charge, and I don't accept that in any way. There's nobody in charge of me apart from me.
It all goes back to limited liability. Lawyers threaten you with liability, so you're frightened, you're cowed into the nanny position. The idea that you can be sued for $1 million.
Right, and
you say, okay, fine, let them control me. You know, that's what they say. I don't consent to that.
Well, but I'm not asking this from the standpoint of
Well, here's the big obvious
how
question.
you would deal with it. What I'm asking is in what manner do you bring somebody to the understanding that that is a fallacy of thought process, is that you can provide for them the tools and the understanding from which to be able to recognize. Okay, well, I've tried that. You know, it gets me being hit in the shins. Well, I'm sorry if speaking slowly and distinctly makes you fall asleep. You're already in bed, aren't you? Well, hurry up and get there.
Could you sing?
So the rest of us can
you
continue on a
sing
real
Trust in Me?
conversation.
Have you not noticed that's exactly?
Couldn't get any more laid back.
Have you not noticed? Have you guys not noticed that's exactly the way Obama speaks? You could almost set a metronome to it, and he's da 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 da. No quick speech, no sentences short and snappy. No, it's just all the same, but almost a monotone until he gets to the little sound bites like "Yes, we can." Other than that, it's just the same all the way through.
Can.
Yeah, but when
That's
I
how
do things short and
most
snappy,
sports talk.
everyone freaks out. When I'm short and snappy, everyone goes, "Whoa!" So.
Yes, we can.
But my question still remains out there. How do we get past that blockage point in people's minds that they consider that, well, I can be responsible for myself, but so many other people lack that ability to be responsible, so we have to have control over them. We have to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to.
The people that are asking this question of you are being so obstinate, they're going to force you to break one of the 3 laws to get your point across. You see what I mean? They're just being obstinate on purpose. They're arguing that this freedom that they want themselves is impossible, which is just unfair and wrong. Because they're hypocrites. They don't understand the basic concept, the golden rule, that if you're ever going to get freedom for yourself, everyone else has to be free too.
Right, but you explain that again, and they just come.
Freaks. You're talking to fundamental control freaks who will not let other people be free, and yet want freedom themselves. You know
Right. My question is how do you get past that?
So again,
If they are fundamental control freaks, but they're fundamental control freaks because of
Great schools.
Because they've been
But if they're fundamental
indoctrinated to believe
Great schools.
that
but we've all been
indoctrinated into believing. They've been indoctrinated into believing that these vast swathes of the society aren't responsible. Well, guess what? 99.9% of every country's population that I look at are entirely responsible. They don't go around shooting people or deliberately vandalizing places or what have you. 99.9%. In other words, it's only a very small percentage of the population that we need this control for. We got to put control on them because there's these few that mess about. No, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Let the majority
as far
have the
as
freedom.
breaking the 3 laws are. Not breaking statutes, but breaking the 3 laws. Or any one of the 3 laws.
They're going right to jail. They're going to break the 3 laws anyway. How is it not covered under the 3 laws?
The 3 laws.
Well, but even when that's brought up, even when I raise that falls under the 3 laws, they go, okay, well, who's going to prosecute that?
The peace officer. And see, somebody had a real flash about guess who had 3 laws and 1 secret one.
Robocop.
He only had 3 laws, and then they snuck a secret one that you couldn't bust his masters.
Yeah, it was really stupid secret one.
Right. Yeah, there's always a secret 4th law, but the 3 laws are the key here.
See, I mean, at the end of the day, it's even under just those basic 3 laws. If somebody offends against someone else or offends against the laws, then we have a peace officer, or the people themselves, the other people themselves, haul them up into the court, and they face their accusers. And if they're unwilling to make recompense for their offence, then it's jail for you, young man. That's what everybody, put you out the way. If you can't be responsible at the end of the day, then that's the last resort, but not make it the first resort.
Well, sure, and I agree with you. I think what unfortunately happens is that people think that if you remove the law as it's been perpetrated, then you wind up with anarchy as a result. And try to express to them that the blank check idea, that the instant that somebody violates one of the 3 laws, they've basically written a blank check to have that exact thing done to them.
See,
yeah, but what?
That's the reason they took Byzantium out of the schools. That's the reason they took the history of America out of the schools. Is because they want to tell you that there is nothing after that. Nothing ever came after the Roman system. There's no Byzantine Empire, because you're supposed to come to the faulty conclusion that the opposite of this system is anarchy.
Well,
That's
right.
why they lie to you and
But
say
then
it's
how do
ancient
you?
Greece and Rome. Because if there was
My
a way
question.
out, if there was a solution in your mind, you would use it. But they want you to come to faulty conclusions. So you fight them and get rid of them, but you come up with a bad system to replace it because you've never heard of the Byzantine Empire. You've never heard of America, the real America.
Well,
So
but
when
once
you
again,
successfully
then my
replace
question
them,
comes
you
back
replace
down
them
to-
with them.
What? Yeah, you're supposed to come to bad conclusions.
Well, sure, and I
They don't want you
understand
to
that.
think, they don't want you to think your way out of this.
However, the question that I'm asking is that how then do you take somebody who has that level of indoctrination and that firm set element of belief
Real history
and
of America. And push on them the amount of time that Byzantium succeeded at this. But how long America succeeded at this? 137 years.
but again, they have been under the influence and belief of something
Go to a
separate
library.
from
Go
that.
to a children's library.
And of
Go to
course,
the
you
library.
don't.
It's
All
not
right,
like
can you
it's
suggest
never
books?
shown. It's never shown. It's not hidden. This is a secret history of the Masons or something.
Well, right, exactly, and it
That's
isn't
something
secret
you might
history.
pound them over the head. You break one of the 3 laws yourself just to get the point across, because they won't listen.
Much like I feel like you're all doing with me at the moment. Woohoo! Fantastic. Go ahead and do it.
No, we don't
Gary.
we don't beat you over the head. We use the force of argument and the force of knowledge and the force of history
Want
to
the
show
missus
you
to
that.
come on. Bring the missus on. We'll talk to her. Yeah, we'll explain these things to her because she doesn't.
I'm not even. I'm not even referring to the missus at the moment. So
Yeah, but bring her
it's
on
actually
anyway.
material.
You're not speaking terms anymore.
Excellent.
Yeah,
The plan is working.
I'm sorry. You
You're
know,
not
there's
speaking
so many
terms
of you
anymore.
talking right now, and I don't have Skype, so I can't tell who's talking where. So you're gonna have to give me a little bit of a break when you're all yelling at me at once. Not that I mind. At least you're all yelling at me all at once.
No, we're not yelling.
No. Apparently, Caribbean, you haven't been with the show long enough yet. No. I get yelled at every single time we do a show. Maggot and Lenny, Dixie. Yeah, completely. Yep, I am 100% Margaret Dumont. I am I'm the foil upon which everyone else's brilliance gets to bounce off of. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I enjoy it. It's
Our
a lot of
natural
fun for me.
supernatural champions.
Right, exactly. Somebody's got to be it, right? You know, somebody has to be the Abbottier Costello. You get all the joke lines, everybody, and I have to be the straight-laced idiot that gets made fun of.
You don't have to be. I think that's been my point. You don't have to be, but God, we can't help it.
Even if I try not to be, y'all just wind up having no one to yell at. So I figure, as long as you got somebody to yell at,
No.
we're
You see,
okay.
I don't think it's we want to yell at you. I mean, it's great that you bring up these points because then we can we can explain or go through the fault.
Thanks, Lenny. Go ahead. You were saying, Caribbean?
Yeah, I mean, you're the devil's advocate, you know. just throwing in spanners. And throwing in spanners, which we then pick up and knock down.
Well, somebody's got to, right? You know, if order is made from, is built out of chaos, and chaos has to tear apart order.
No. Unfortunately, it's been the opposite way round. You know, there was order, now they've built chaos.
Sure.
And at the moment,
building chaos, that's a new concept.
Yeah, well, they've brought chaos, and that's the point where we're living now. We're living in chaos. Just have a look around the world. There's no order. Sure. It's all chaos.
Yeah, and unfortunately, looking around and going through some of these websites that are associated with the truth movement, and reading some of these articles and reading some of the postings by people who were involved in the truth movement, there is almost a neo-level of fascism that's available out there, and I think our goal and part of what we're trying to do and part of the reasons that I ask these questions is because there are people that do understand and realize that they've been lied to, but how do you get them to recognize that the solution is not fascism on their level, it's the complete removal of the top-down control system. I think we've been so indoctrinated for so long that the top-down control system is the only way to go. You take a look at every organization, every industry, everything in America, and they're all
hierarchical
control format.
Right, see,
sure.
That's why they
hierarchical.
lay this system on top of the American system because we would rebel against it. So they had to blank out any knowledge of any other system to put this one on top.
Mm-hmm.
So the way around it is, when you see people with these faulty conclusions, hit them with the two keys that I came out in public last year for the first time ever to talk about. The elimination, that the Roman Catholic Church is not the source of Christianity. They are the corruptors of it. They're the splitters. And everybody split off of them, or everybody in Western Europe. And the other key is that the Byzantine Empire exists, and that's the source of America. These two keys, and that undoes the faulty conclusions that people have.
Now, you see, and I would love to be able to have information presented that I can source from exactly for that, because I'm giving my second sermon in the last 12 months in front of my church in June, and I have a strong desire and urge to speak on the actual identity of the Christian church. And it's well, and I have a firm belief that Christ's message was Byzantine.
It's not just Byzantine.
Serve
There's
others.
5 churches, not just that one.
Well, no, but I'm not talking Christianity. I'm talking the message of Yeshua,
Yes.
in which it's serve others, care for others, help others, support others, and take yourself constantly as last. Sorry, what was that? Did I just lose everybody here? I have no idea what he just said, so I was just asking. But so I kind of wanted to get into that, and then bring that into the Byzantine system of the inverse of the top-down control element. Because I think one of the most powerful stories that you ever shared with me, Strakios, was the when your family went and visited the patriarch of the Byzantine Church.
Constantinople.
And he served you lemonade himself.
Right, because he's not in charge of anything.
Right. Because he's there to serve.
Yeah. He has responsibility.
It's not, I'm in control.
It's responsibility and not an authority.
Right. And well, I think that's really what I want my message to be about, and that's why I'm asking as many questions and trying to gain as much insight and information as possible, not only for our listeners out there who might be coming onto this without an understanding, or even if they do, to extend that understanding, but also because I really feel that this is a powerful message that needs to be delivered to people.
You see, illegitimate criminals cannot earn authority, so they have to force it upon you. the way you earn authority is you take responsibility, and eventually people will respect you if you're doing the right thing. And maybe they'll listen to you if you're respectable. You see what I'm saying? If you aren't a hypocrite, if you're not a top-down controller, if you start with responsibility and you fulfill it every time, you know what I'm saying, you're not a hypocrite, then you might earn some authority. But you can't just take it.
Right.
Say, I'm your boss. Here's the rules. See, that's what the Roman system wants to do.
Right.
Because it's about putting your friends in. It's about having illegitimate authorities all the time who tell you what to do.
Right. Well, and I think unfortunately that has been misrepresented to the degree that so many people believe that authority is handed from the top down.
And once you get authority, you're just supposed to get in there and abuse it. It's really your opportunity to abuse your authority because, you know.
Right. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Type idea, because power is associated with control, and control is associated with controlling others, not controlling the self. I actually wrote a dissertation when I was in college years ago on the two different forms of power, inherent power and assumed power. And inherent power was based in I'm sorry, inherent?
How about earned?
Well, but I would say it's not even earned, it's inherent. You already have, from the moment you're born, you have the capacity for self-control. You have the capacity for inherent power. You have power over where you go, what you do, how you act, how you respond. That's an inherent power. An assumed power is the power that you assume you have over other people. An inherent power outweighs assumed power in much the same way that duty supersedes rights. And I wrote a dissertation paper on this. And sure. Well, gang power is always assumed
yeah,
power.
gain power.
Right. Well, it's even gained power. If it's power over anyone else, it's an assumed power, because you have assumed a level of control. Now, it may have been consented to.
But you can there's loads of ways you can gain power. Doesn't actually disinherit
gang
anybody.
Power. I mean,
like,
You've eliminated from
gang
your system any legitimacy.
Gang power
look,
is
one
called
instance you can
democracy.
Whoa.
Is that
one at a time here, guys. One at a time.
Gang power is, or assumed power is called democracy, and we've got the worst of all systems in democracy. I mean, just what's going to happen in the UK election now. The Conservatives are more than likely to control the legislative powers of the government for the next few years on less than a third of the vote. So that 1/3 then will get their little schemes through, and trample all over the rights and expectations of the other 2/3 of the British people. So this is democracy, of course. You know, okay, so Obama got 51 point something % of the vote, or however many percent he got, but the other 49%, 48%, they're getting their aspirations and rights trampled all over. So democracy is just the worst possible form of government, and we've been led into it and told it's the best form. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So sometimes called mob
gang
rulers.
power, assumed power, is the worst form, which I contend and support. So the opposite, inherent power.
The other methods very quickly. It isn't very quick to understand this Byzantine system or the traditional American system, the English common law system, whatever you want to call it. It's not simply understood in 2 seconds. It takes explaining it several times till you understand what responsibility is. It's an adult responsibility. People don't. You can understand being hit over the head very quickly. You know what I mean? Or mob rule, or let's vote.
Well,
or, you know.
But that's what I'm saying is that inherent power that is yours simply by virtue of your existence. That is. Pardon?
Throw the thesis away. It's a miscut.
Throw the what?
Throw your thesis away. It's a miscut of the situation. You've miscut the situation.
I don't see what your point is, Astravius.
You've miscut the situation. I'm just trying to say that there are other methods of getting power.
I haven't even heard him do his argument yet.
It's just terrible. It's assumed inherent. How about earned? That's not hard.
I'd like to hear his argument. I haven't heard it at all yet.
Long in Congress, and it'll be long anyway. Go on.
This always tends to happen when you get free individuals where they're very difficult to get an agreement because we all have different opinions and styles and methods of debate, and that's what it is to be free.
Don may be wrong, but I still would like to hear the argument. I want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, I might as well.
I don't want him cut off on it. I want to hear it.
Okay, Don, you've got the floor. Come on.
Inherent is coordinate to the term earned, because it is the power that is yours from birth that is only yours through application based upon your making the choices of responsibility. So if you want to place it in terms of earned, first of all, the term earn means that you gained it from somewhere. So if you gained it from somewhere and you gained it from outside yourself, that means somebody else had to give you that power. Well, if no one else can give you power, if it has to be something that you can only produce within and of yourself, then it must be an inherent power. So inherent and earned, in the context that I think it's being put forth by Astratios, must be the same thing. And before I continue, I would like to understand how Astratios believes you can earn power unless it's something that you, for example, you don't earn muscle mass, you create muscle mass out of working your own body, which means it's inherent in you, you just have to build it. And building is not the same thing as earning. So before I continue, I just want to know what's the difference. How do you define earned power? Lenny, I'm actually asking you a question.
The faulty Roman system, because the other has been removed, your cutting of the system of the pie here is wrong. You may be given responsibility in the election or something like that in your new position, but you don't have an authority. You have to earn your position by doing your job correctly, and still no one should believe you on your word. It should be based on what...
I'm not talking about authority.
I know.
I'm not talking about... Power is not authority. I'm not talking about authority.
I'm not talking about power.
Okay, then I think maybe we're talking about two separate thought processes. Because power and authority are not the same thing. Power is an element and capacity to do something. Authority is the ability to do something without question.
Some fresher, nicer way. You know, this is a dead zone now. Don't move on to something else. You'll come back to this point in a better way. Hopefully, I'll put some better music into this.
So put some trance music on that, and it'd be nice and confusing. Or the magic roundabout. Here we go round the Melby Bush,
hey.
Melby Bush, Melby Bush.
There was a lot of politics
Music
in
goes
that
on,
Magic Roundabout. Did you never watch the Magic Roundabout? I did.
Was that a TV show?
And
Dylan.
Dylan.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan, Bob.
I mean, there was a lot of politics.
There's a rabbit.
I mean, it looked like a kiddies. Yeah, it looked like a kiddies program.
Aspect of Pan.
Yeah.
I know, it was all political, and there was even like some sort of like paganism in the background as well. It was,
Yes, there was.
The guy,
there was everything in that show
yeah.
for kiddies. But if you listened to the words properly and the actions of these different characters, it was an adult show in as much as, you know, you could watch with your kids and the kids would enjoy the show, but you would take a political ideal from this particular show. It was very cleverly done.
Yeah, I found it.
It was, what was the name of the...
55.
There was a... Yeah. Is it Neil, whatever his name is? He went on to write The Young Ones, didn't he? He played Neil, that was it, in The Young Ones, but he also wrote the script. I'll find his name. Yeah, 'cause he's written loads of scripts, used in the 80s and the BBC. Nigel Planer. Or Nigel Planner. It's probably like a Masonic name. Born 22nd February 1953 in Westminster, London. It's perhaps best known as Neil Pye in the cult BBC comedy The Young Ones. Yeah, isn't there a character, Marge or something? And she was a television. And she was a witch.
Yeah.
And she had the V thing on top of her head, which is 21. Because it's 2 points going down to one terminus. And it's V as well for Venus and Lucifer. And she had this like face painted onto the TV, and she'd go up to people, look at them head on, and she'd hypnotise them. It was like really complicated, and nobody actually understood. It says TV is hypnotising you. You're being hypnotised by TV. So she could do that to any character in the whole storyline, and they completely changed their opinions based on what she wanted them to say. And she was a horrible old witch as well.
It's always been like this.
Like really horrible person.
Yeah,
but
I mean basically that was telling the audience that they were being indoctrinated by the TV. Now, if you cottoned onto that, you knew what was happening.
That's it. I think she's even had it was used in a green box as well. There's definitely the green present on her anyway.
On this show, or is it another show? The Magic Roundabout?
The Magic Roundabout, one of the characters.
Yeah, I think I found the Magic Roundabout. I'm going to download it now.
But all Nigel Planer's stories are either political or like, pseudo-religious. So they always make references to like social stuff, and it's like you were saying earlier. It's everything apart from what it's apparent on the screen. It's really written for the sort of like subconscious to figure out, because they make the activity on screen like humorous for the children or whatever, in theory. But then again, if you say children, you really mean like people with children's minds. People who haven't grown up, like naive people, like Goy and all that, Faye, and it brings it all back to that. So, you can get...
Written for the Goy. The Goyim.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they got the surface appearance. They have to put that bit in on top. It's like the icing on the cake, but the real message is underneath. But yeah, you have to have like, we'll make them say something silly, or have give them silly accents and people laugh, and put sound effects on. But that stuff's always done later, especially in the older things when you didn't have any sound anyway, and you had to put sound on afterwards. Main character was Pollux. Oh, it's finally loaded. That's nice of it.
Wow, I really found a bunch of it.
Yeah. Okay, the main character was Pollux, Dougal in the English language version, who was a drop-eared variety of the Skye Terrier. The Skype Terrier? No. In the French version, Pollux was an English character who spoke somewhat broken French with an outrageous English accent as a result of I. Woodswell's co-creator. His sweet tooth shown through his fondness for sugar lumps was based on the French belief that one of the traits of the English is the liking for sweets. Could be let's see. Probably a reference to like one of the French kings or something like that. So it's quite a close association between sweets and royalty. They were like they're really rich, expensive foods, really sweet.
Well, it just shows you the level of indoctrination this little box in the corner of the living room pushes out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it demonstrates quite clearly that even children's programs have a hidden message, and not necessarily up front. I realised that Magic Roundabout had this hidden message, and it wasn't until my kiddies were like 10 and 11 that I realised that this Magic Roundabout wasn't a kiddies program at all. Not in the subtext of it. This was a program to indoctrinate mothers who sat with their kids watching this program on maybe not even on a conscious level, but a subconscious level even, and it was quite insidious in some respects.
Yeah, I got it wrong. Magic Roundabout, it's got Willow. It's Willow the Wisp. I'm thinking of the one with the TV, but Magic Roundabout's just as bad anyway. Yeah. But yeah, you're right on all the rest. It's just I was slightly wrong on the TV character who's in a different series called Willow the Wisp. I think it's the same person. Just to check.
I found 5 classic episodes.
Yeah.
And it always ended with a couple of the characters in a weird semi-compromising position, and then Zebedee had come along. Time for bed. Oh dear. Once you saw through it, it was so obvious that the little bits, huh? And it was weird. But I think the problem is we've got the same today in everything, in the news programs, in the comedies, in Hollywood films. Everything is not as it seems on that level.
Yeah. I think Nigel Planer might have actually written the Magic Roundabout as a child. I think it's one of these child prodigies, because that was some of the information I got. So I don't think you'll actually be able to find that online. So there's sort of a secret, might be. Let's double check. I'll just check if it is definitely referenced to somebody else. It says there's somebody who's the creator of it, but that could just mean he created the sets and filmed it. But yeah, I mean, like when you're making animation, it's so cold and calculating, you know, and you add on everything else afterwards. You add on the sound effects, and you add on the music, and it's sort of like not particularly fun at all doing it, especially if it's like stop motion, where you've got to like film every single frame, you know, every single motion. Nothing's natural on it; it's all forced. And so especially like stuff in the 50s and 60s, there's no way that the government would, allow just like sheer wackiness just to happen. It had to be like scripted and stuff, and then be fingers pointing at different parts of the plot, like saying, "Oh, this is about this is about that."
There were tremendous warnings about what was going to happen. There's an Elliot Kazan movie called Facing the Crowd, which is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, with Andy Griffith, who you can never take seriously. Looking back on it, you can never take his Andy Mayberry seriously. You realize he made Facing the Crowd before he ever played Andy Mayberry. This is the story of Lonesome Rhodes, and it shows you the kind of it demonstrates all the pieces of what they were going to do to us in the future. Happy Days, these TV shows, how the brainwashing was going to work, and even the disposability of the characters later after they go nuts, because they're driven insane by doing this.
Yeah, Magic Roundabout was started filming, whatever, it was made in 1963. Nigel Planer was born in 1953, so he could have written those stories. It's 10 years after his birth. I mean, I wrote a 3 or 4 side motion picture play at the age of about 8, and it's not impossible. You know, you get these people that do stuff like. Originally, it was made 501 minutes short, so it's quite wacko.
501?
501, that'd be even better. It says some 500 5-minute long episodes were made and were originally broadcast between 1964 and 1971 on ORTF.
I thought there was something wrong. They were talking about there being 5 minutes long. Magic Roundabout was 5 minutes long?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm getting 5 episodes of it now. I wonder why the total size was so small.
What's about 40 megs or something?
Yeah.
The British Dougal was grumpy and loosely based on Tony Hancock.
You should see another show that was not shown here. So I'm always interested in finding this stuff.
Will o' the Wisp is interesting as well. That's the one with the TV thing. And they had guy from the Carry On series, like the one who was like, "Hello, Ness." Oh dear. He was like the really posh sounding one.
They said it's Eric Thompson's delivery that makes it.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Graham. I believe his name.
Did you see the links I put over? Oh, I found it in French too.
Yeah, the one who was like air matron. He was like really posh.
I assume Don is now hanging himself. He's still trying to push the same flawed Roman concept on us. Because that's all that people know. And so he's going to continuously force this. He wrote this in school and the Roman system, and it's flawed, and it's not the way America was, and it's not what we're talking about with the American Freeman. He's going to push it until he pouts himself into hanging himself. So, that would be great.
Kenneth Williams, that's it. He produced voices for all the characters, including 3 main characters. Mavis Crit is a clumsy fairy with elastic magical powers. Oh, Evil Edna! Haha, even worse. A witch in the form of the walking, talking television set who could zap people with her aerials.
Walking, talking television set?
Yeah, Evil Edna. That was the one I was mentioning earlier. And there's one called the Moog, a supposed dog who is unable to think for himself. Well, Moog is a type of keyboard.
Right.
And there's a few other things as well. It is from Sweden anyway. Really good sort of keyboards, but they do other things.
Right. That was it was triumph by that guy who became a woman. Walter Carlos became Wendy Carlos.
This is the guy who owned Moog or something, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Robert
That
Moog
sort of makes
invented
sense.
it, but Walter Carlos was the one who was most famous for playing it. He became Wendy Carlos later.
Walter and Wendy. There's one character called the Beast, who began life as a dim prince who could not pronounce the letter R correctly before an unfortunate encounter with Edna ended up with his transformation into a hairy, shambling creature. What a coincidence. It's somebody else on fine.
I'm trying to call Don back. Apparently he dropped off.
Yeah. In this encounter, he crashed into Edna on his bicycle and called her very dangerous and what a rotten program. And then Edna replied, "I'll watch and program him," and transformed him into the Beast. There you go, evil Edna, somebody who began life as a dim prince, gets programmed by the TV, and becomes the Beast, and is in the Great Beast of Revelations, all that rubbish. So yeah, it's just total like random words strung together. Yeah, and they real command of the English language. They don't know what to talk about. Nobody else ever figured out there was any connection at all, you know, it's just ridiculous when you read this stuff. And it's like, you know, they'll spell it out in the shows as well. The astronauts explores the space with a mushroom-shaped rocket. That's a reference to the old mushroom cults, isn't it? You used to get spaced out and then take mushrooms. There's one character called the Bookworm, a very clever, intelligent worm who eats facts from books as a source of knowledge.
These are all English shows I've ever seen. When you show me these references, I've never seen this stuff before. They never play this stuff here.
No. More Vatican scandals. I'm reading through the news, what there is of it today. Did you hear about there was a flood in Michigan or something, or Cincinnati? Illinois. Yeah, somewhere in the USA, quite a big one. And apparently there's like a house floating down the river or something because the floods were so bad. But I looked for it the other day on YouTube and I couldn't find any links.
That shows you how out of it is. Nashville, not Cincinnati. Nashville, walloped by flood.
That was at Nashville. Yeah. I found the news articles, but I couldn't find any video of it.
I was hoping I would have recognized it if it happened here.
I was searching for it yesterday. Yeah. Tennessee.
What flooded?
That was tap.
Of course, I had to mention the Jewish Community Center. That's the key to it. They're the only people who were damaged, of course. No, all the other damage doesn't count.
Oh, there was I think this Gulf of Mexico. There was the oil explosion or leakage from the tanker that sank to the bottom or something, or there's an underwater well which leaked. It's probably two different events.
Oh yeah, okay. There's a Gulf oil spill. I just heard about that last night.
Okay.
I try not to watch the news at all.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you get that roll between shows and this constant brainwashing on TV. I just not really felt less brainwashed for that.
I've got one article here. It's loading now. Okay, Gulf oil spill estimates grow, but may already exceed Exxon Valdez disaster. May 3rd, 2010. Federal officials acknowledged over the weekend that initial estimates of the size of the Gulf Coast oil spill were likely too small after a small non-profit firm in West Virginia called them into question.
Well, see, they will now create as many environmental disasters as they have to justify the bullshit of global warming and environmentalism and whatever, because it's completely fallen apart. And so they will create a thing where all of our environment is destroyed to the point where it's the Terminator, where we have black skies above us and whatever we have to do. You know?
I know. It's they're trying to put people off using oil by making oil spills.
It's not just that. It's that they're trying to validate the concept of radical environmentalism. It's of course the most wonderful thing there ever was. And we have to believe them, and because they've been lying in every way, shape, and form, they have to now validate it by destroying the environment, because they're the ones in charge now anyway. So they're gonna spill oil, they're gonna flood Nashville, they're gonna do everything to justify their existence. This is like if the fire department was caught doing stuff. Imagine they then set the whole city on fire just to justify themselves. You need us now. There was a need for firemen, you know.
Yeah. That's a New York fire tactic from Kings of New York, isn't it?
So expect it to get worse and worse and worse until we get rid of them, because we have to. They're making us do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're trying to
them just have done their jobs in the first place and not have created these crises, but they're going to create more crises just to justify it.
Yeah, I was listening to A View from Space. He liked his latest episode. It was quite good because he was like kind of projecting why they're doing it, and he was saying like they're trying to get everybody to move on to solar power, which is like ridiculous because it's hugely expensive and it's never going to work because the solar panels are always too weak Just won't be able to do it. You'll have to like carry on the depopulation program and everything else, and it'll be massively unreliable as a source of energy.
The environmentalism issue was never legitimate. It was always done by elites. It was created by Rockefeller in the first place, and it's about depopulation. If we can just convince everyone that the environment is that bad.
Yeah. Well, it's people bad, Earth good.
Right.
Sort of mentality, the Gaia worship, and you know Gaia is just another aspect of Tiamat.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's the same lunacy of Luciferianism couched in every form of paganism, which it never was. But these people have couched their Lucifer worship in every form of pagan worship because they want to claim this is what was lost, but they perverted it all. It's never
That's
a
it,
legitimate
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's like they've taken all these marbles that each of them was like a different god or divinity or whatever, and they put them all in a big bag, and then they put like the UN NWO like scrawled it on it. Yeah. And then they're saying this is what we are. We're all of this. Yeah, because like they'll say Tiamat is Satan and Gaia could be Lucifer, and you know black is white.
That's not what Pan was exactly.
Yeah.
They couched it in there. Prometheus is not Lucifer, but that's why it's in Rockefeller Center.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that brought the spark of light. That nobody meant it that way initially. It's been perverted. But they perverted all the history to justify their own existence.
Yeah.
But they want to make everything like you can't do anything unless unless you accept us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Garbage all the time.
Yeah. They want to reduce everything down to black and white. You know, it's yes or no. It's all digital. Everything. That's why they changed from analog to digital signals. I thought.
Yeah. So they can manipulate everything.
Yeah. Because whenever you've only got this or that, left or right, you can easily invert it. I mean, in electronics, that's easy as anything. Just use a NOT gate or an OR gate or whatever. You know, there's like different gates you can use, but it's easy. Once somebody's always heading to the left, you just switch the channel, they go on the right. There's not like they haven't got the big basis for making their decisions. They haven't got like a network of dendritic signals. They haven't got the logic tree, or whatever. That's what I call it. It's what people build up over your life, where you make decisions for yourself, and then you kind of like make assumptions based on those decisions and the outcomes. Yeah.
If you've perverted that, then you have to pervert that to justify them and why we need them.
Yeah. Well, they've sort of like what they want to do is they want to uproot your logic tree and replace it with their one.
You can't breathe unless we have them. You can't think clearly unless we have them.
That's it. You can only think what we want you to think, and we don't even want to think about what you're thinking because we just want you to carry on thinking the way that we told you to think, and then we can just go off, I don't know, to Mars or whatever, have fun, and just leave you children alone. You know, just carry on breeding, and we'll come and like eat you once in a while, whatever.
That's also why they claim that everyone around you is a criminal.
Yeah.
And that we have an outside threat. It justifies their top-down control.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, even like the alien threat, which they just keep on trying to bring in all the time.
Aliens, they'll do aliens, they'll do asteroids, they'll do floods, environmentalism, they'll do anything.
Yeah. That's pretty much in reverse order of what one of those guys was saying. I don't know who he was. He was like top guy in the military, and like on his deathbed, he said to his secretary, you know, the last thing they're going to try to do is an alien invasion of the planet to try and fool people.
Yes, that's Werner von Braun, is that, or who was that?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah. That was like the environment is number 4, and space aliens is number 5.
And then asteroids. Or asteroids first, I think.
Yeah. The communists.
We should have had asteroids by now.
Yeah. There's the commies as well. But yeah, I mean, the commies just like a random political organisation that's against the NWO. You can just replace commies with terrorists. Because the neocons like couldn't get away with calling everybody else commies for too long because people got onto them.
Well, the communist regime fell because of its own weight, because they were trying desperately to redo everything, to reorder society and make everybody into a robot. And that doesn't work. You can't force people to do things like that. And so they were moving because of the way the plan had worked, you had to. They were moving like enormous weight across Russia on the trains because the amount of weight having been transferred showed productivity. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People would drive all over town in Moscow, but they were only allocated a certain number of miles. So everybody would have to get home and wind back their car wheels to get to the right number of, because the government official was going to come by. You know, the whole society was like that in every way. Because of this constant force of order, phony order, and it never generated a clock radio because of that. They were trying to squeeze everything towards their military production, and it never led to anything they could use, and it depended on us the entire time to give them the things that worked. So it was humiliating as well. I didn't explain that well. I just saw this incredible thing. It was called Pandora's Box from artists tried to explain this stuff.
Okay.
I misexplained it.
Well, I mean, you need to start at the beginning, really. In order for communism to work, you need to totally break down society.
Right.
That's what you need first.
It's really a phony situation in the first place because they never intend to remove the police state.
No. The police state is essential to the communist manifesto and all that, because like it's always been the plan all along, just for the elite to stay as the elite. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous if you think about it. You won't have like I don't know, David Rockefeller, if there is one, like working in the fields with the rest of the peasants. You know, that would be an ideal communist utopia, wouldn't it? But you can't expect him doing that. He'd be like, oh no, somebody's got to manage the potato farms.
Right, but see, they tell you that one day that we're all doing this because one day we will all be free and we will all be changed. But the reality of it is, they don't really mean it in a legitimate way. It's really just social monarchy. The appointed members of the party become the new dukes and earls and lords.
That's right.
Who will be lording it over you.
Yeah.
Rather than the people who were from divine right of kings, which is equally false.
Yeah. Neo-feudalism.
It's not that everyone will be equal. You know what I mean?
That's what they call neo-feudalism.
Right. It's never the situation where it's legitimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't even know what that is.
Yeah. If they did that over here, just for sake of argument, I did overnight, replace our current system with communism, all that happened is the bankers would be like the lords and ladies, and the police would be like the knights, and the council workers and like low-level working-class people would be serfs and peasants. That's really not that difficult to see happening here.
The lie of communism is that everyone would be equal.
Mm.
And it would be on your merit and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a lie for the fae, just lie for idiots. They've always got them in them. All political systems have got those stupid lies.
Not all political systems. See, that's why we advocate the Byzantine system as it's known in America.
Yeah.
Or as common law, because it doesn't have these failings. It doesn't have this kind of corruption, and it fixes itself. When you do have this kind of corruption, the system fixes itself. That's what they call it, self-repairing, because it legitimately is. It's not based on corruption. The Roman and the Roman-derived systems are corrupt, will be corrupt, but that's what Constantine fixed, and it's been proven in history. And see, from a quick outsider's position, it can't be understood very quickly. So, to idiots, when you're explaining to idiots, they don't get it very, very quickly. That's why they prefer this, and they'll tell you in their arguments, you're just talking nonsense, or in their quick analysis of the Byzantine Empire, it's the same as the Roman Empire. Of course, it's an autocracy and all this stuff, and it takes a while to get what it is. That's why it takes a while to even understand. I mean, you have to watch Menard's videos over and over and over again to get anything out of it, because it sounds so foreign to us now. But that is what he's uncovered.
Yeah,
and it isn't easy to realize why the three laws are right. And why 60 million statutes only cover the three laws anyway. I mean, it's really just a micromanaging of the three laws.
Yeah.
And what kind of infrastructure that would take to actually enforce something crazy like that versus the three laws in the first place. That's why you need more than the peace officer. You need the policy enforcement officer. And they need to go and check in your car to see if you are lying.
Yeah, you need to do like a destroy, erase, improve number on yourself in order to see through it, because like it's what they call a paradigm shift. It's like a total shift perspectives. Most people can only achieve one or two of them. Well, most people can't achieve any of them, but you know, it's like what other people call a revelation or something. Paradigm shift is when you go over from one perspective to another one that's totally exclusive of the original one. You see what I mean? It's like instead of being water, you become fire, because water and fire just have no connection with each other. You know, they're different elements. So yeah, it's a total shift of perspective. Most people aren't even capable of it. They haven't got the mental training for it. They're sort of like already sort of like on the assembly line going through their lives.
But they can't. And they are seeking that. They're seeking to be an adult. But they're told that there are overwhelming forces that are keeping you a child forever, and that you're wrong even to seek it. You're thinking, I just want to be a responsible adult, but the society makes you into a child forever.
Yeah.
It's danger, it's liability, and things that you can't handle. So you must buy insurance to handle liability.
So let me ask you just a quick question then. If the ability to be an adult is countermanded by others conditionalizing you to be a child, i.e. they are the adult in charge over you, is that a fair assessment?
Just an elite. It's not. They're not even. It's not just that you're not an adult. It's that you're not capable of doing it because you're not equal to them.
So it's an assumption that they have to be the adult, and that you are incapable of being an adult.
Okay.
Is that fair? Yes or no?
All right.
Well, no, not all right. Yes or no? I'm just asking.
But to me,
no, I'm not making you an authority. I'm just asking if I'm understanding your point. If I'm not understanding your point, please clarify your point. If I am, it's a simple yes or no. And that doesn't demand that you are an authority on the situation. It merely means that if you're going to express that point, am I understanding your point?
Yes.
Okay, so there is an assumption on the part of the elite that they have to be the authority. But
the reality is they're not competent. They're not competent themselves.
I'm not asking if they are competent or not at this point, because I know they're not competent. You know they're not competent. I think most people that are going to bother to listen to the show know that they're not competent. I'm just asking if I understand that it is correct that they have assumed that they have to act. Excuse me?
He's still justifying the same thing.
I'm not justifying anything. I'm just trying to ask questions.
Well, anyway, to me, the whole whole point of becoming an adult is to overthrow all the other adults, and that's how you become an adult, is by overthrowing all the authority around you, because you got rules and regulations all written down, but they don't actually count for anything in actual effect. You can't, a rule that says "thou shalt not kill" will not stop you from killing somebody. So yeah, point is, you've got to establish yourself as an authority by overthrowing all the other authority, and having the backbone to actually back up what you've done. Having it done from logical and reasoning
You shouldn't be doing it
methods.
because of the three laws. You should have your own morals.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
golden rule itself is that you don't. If you kill them, then they have the right to kill you. Or the family kills you.
Yeah, but there's always situations and blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, you have to set your own rules and live by them, and then people can judge you from that. And then if you can do that and put up with all the crap that other people throw at you, then you can claim to be an adult. I'm saying within society. I'm not saying puberty and stuff. That's got to do with becoming an adult. That's just
We
gender.
had a problem in the World Freeman Society where someone is posting on the forums and posting on eBay their own sovereign IDs using the logo of the World Freeman Society. But here I'll show you that they're. I wonder if it's gone already. Their eBay listings, they misinterpreted the concepts of the society because they're then selling sex with their wife on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
They thought this was a legitimate thing to post on eBay. I mean, as if they're not going to get banned instantly. Sex with their wife, weed, and other things that they want to sell on eBay. It's pretty amazing. I'll find it. I wonder if this is still there. I haven't yet. Oh, it's still up there. Okay. He's selling sex with his wife for $10,000. Permission to have sex with my wife. It's the same guy who he took our logos and wanted to sell a sovereign ID. He also here's his listing for weed for $50. Canadian weed, 14 grams. The sex costs $10,000. I mean, I'm confused why this hasn't been knocked down by eBay already. Here's his sovereign ID. I'll list that. I know I can't do it for the audience.
Is he selling his cat for $25? Oh no, check out Nice Watched.
Yeah, I mean, it's pushing the same childish arguments. I'm an adult now. I'm going to push childish arguments on everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, you've not become an adult if you're selling with your wife.
Well, yeah, that's stupid. You're using your wife as a commodity.
It shows the same childish mentality because clearly you don't get it.
Yeah. It's not something you become overnight. You don't become an adult overnight. It's not like I'm saying, like puberty or something like that. It's not.
But you still push the same childish arguments, the same mistaken arguments. You say, I'm old enough now. I'm gonna go crash all the cars on the highway.
Yeah, and it's okay because I'm off at age. Yeah,
that's
like
not,
your
that's
age
not
is the only.
responsible.
Yeah, like your age is the only determinant factor. You know, like you've got a little switch in your brain that will just automatically make you an adult. And so, children make adult decisions. Adults make childish decisions. There's no real rule one way or the other.
If it's still available, I'm gonna make right now. I'm gonna make a tiny URL so people can see the sex with my wife is really funny. I mean, what kind of idiot puts that up there? I mean, it shows you what kind of child. I have it here as tiny URL 29R L6S3. It's $10,000 sex with his wife. I mean, we were puzzled what to do with this guy. I mean, because it was like he's so far out there. It's almost, you know, if he was sincerely making legitimate IDs and using our logo, well, that's a major infraction or infringement. But he's demonstrating his childishness at the same time.
Yeah.
His lack of responsibility. I mean, what are you talking about? If you did have the ability to make IDs, why didn't you just come to us and talk to us? Because we're not selling them for some exorbitant thing. It's the minor price of the. That's the pay element of the society. Is you get the ID, the blue plates, things like that. But all the information that we have is free. I mean, but it's not meant to be used to. What do you call it? It's not a free for all. The opposite of the system is not anarchy. Yeah. But that's what people think it is.
Sounds like he's using it as a marketplace.
Well, that's the one thing the Empire wouldn't allow.
So I'm fighting a boss right now on this game. It's quite intense. I'm gonna lose, I expect. Just has stupid weapons.
But responsibility is difficult. And so by de-Christianizing the population and by corrupting Christianity, people have no concept of the Golden Rule. And they hate Christianity because they associate it with the Roman Catholic Church or any of the post-Catholic churches that couldn't give up their top-down control, which is all of them. They all have the Catholic poison. So it creates a situation. I mean, if I were ever presented with a Christianity that told me what to do, with a priest who tells me I'm in charge now, you know, I'd walk away from it too. But the Orthodox Church would never do that to you, and would never have missionaries that would evangelize you or anything like that, because that's the opposite of Christianity.
Yeah, responsibility begins at home, sort of thing. It begins with yourself. You got to be responsible for yourself. I mean, it's just so obvious, isn't it? If you weren't responsible for your own behaviour, just like, oh dear, I accidentally slashed my wrists, you know. Oh, I was like, you know, cutting some steak and I actually cut my arm off. There's people just really sort of take the piss in the way they live their lives, really. You know, they're just like, oh, you said I could do anything I want, so I'll just go and shoot somebody.
Well, they live their life in a rebellion of a phony authority.
Yeah.
Because it's the Ozzy Osbourne thing. Ozzy Osbourne isn't evil, but he points to the Catholic Church. He says, if they're good, then I want to be bad.
Yeah.
But the reality is they're bad, and so what has Ozzy Osbourne done wrong in his life? Nothing. You know? I mean, is he molesting children? No.
He bit off a bat's head or something, and even that's like whatever.
Oh,
you know,
boo-hoo.
Yeah, poor bat.
I mean, it's not like he's not molesting children like the Catholic Church is.
No, he's not good or bad. He's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know, it's musicians who get into things they shouldn't even worry about. Just play, play your music.
If you look at the lyrics of the Black Sabbath material, I mean, something like After Forever, or a lot of those albums had really good messages.
Yeah.
Material all the way through.
Yeah, they were quite inspired. That's the thing. I don't know. His lyric writing capability went downhill.
It did. But that happens to a lot of them. Eventually, the ones that you can still respect are the ones that eventually do die. I mean, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, they poured the stuff down and sort of killed him, which is. I mean, he didn't die of natural causes, but.
He like drunk to death.
Like embarrassing himself later in life when his creative period may have been over. I mean, now we see him as perfect and whatever. I mean, James Brown achieved his artistic, let's say, bones. I don't know what you call it. 1965,
Apex.
And continued on to 72. It just brilliantly. But after that, really, I think spent the rest of his life embarrassing himself. If you really have nothing to say after that point, don't keep coming in public and shooting your wife's car or something like that. I mean, please retire. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, because now people don't respect James Brown, and I really, I look to his old material. I think it's fantastic. I pretend that he didn't exist after 72.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, though, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But so, in other situations, you have to really, you have to look at their golden period and just forget the rest of their career. And who were we just talking about that made more sense about?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, Ozzy Osbourne, yes. Yeah, Ozzy had a really good period, especially with Black Sabbath, and he did have some good solo material, but the thing is, it eventually deteriorated to the point where he's embarrassing himself on television. The
he's
show
terrible.
showed him just going out and getting burritos. And that was, actually, some of the stuff was really, ironically, very interesting, like when he bought the $90,000 BMW, and everyone, it understood everyone except him. It was voice activated.
Yeah.
So even the dealer is standing outside the car when the whole family's in the car. He talks to the radio on, and it goes right on. Ozzy says it because, pardon me? There was an ironic factor to that. Howard Stern told him to do that show, and that's why he did it. But as far as artistic stuff, it's long gone.
No, I mean, doing that reality TV show saved his career, so, he wouldn't even have a house by now if it wasn't that show. I read in the English press, I don't know which paper, but he was living in a council house for like 5-6 years.
Really?
His money just totally ran out. He's just living with his kids in his council.
What happens on I think it's the third
This is in the
episode,
80s.
The wife's father comes and visits them. The wife's father was the manager of Black Sabbath who screwed them over and took all their money.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, you have to grovel to these record companies to get it, and they give you the worst royalties ever.
Yeah.
David Bowie never made any money at all in records until he moved his catalog to another label. I think it was
EMI
was the first move. Then he made money. I mean, after his whole career, David Bowie has now sucked twice as long as he was cool. And he's making more money now than he did then. I mean, why couldn't he make money for the Ziggy Stardust? No way. They wouldn't allow it. He's making money on Ziggy Stardust for changing labels. But it's because our entire media is wrong-headed, controlled by the same NWO that's destroying us.
Yeah, I know, but
punish you for any kind of art that you make.
people complain about musicians being treated badly by their peers or whatever. But the thing is, if you give them money, then they seem to blow it on drugs anyway, and they die early. Sort of lesser of two evils, really, to make them live on like handouts.
The Beatles were doing acid around the time of Hell. And it manifests itself in the music till later, but it was one time George Martin didn't know that they were on acid and told John Lennon he was having a bad trip. Well, just go up on the roof and hang out. And clear your head. And the rest of them had to go chase up after him because he would have walked off the roof.
Yeah.
They were afraid of that. There was no guardrail or anything up there. I don't think they're necessarily always irresponsible. I mean, I think there's always a Kurt Cobain in the back writing the material who's not doing drugs. He had a bad reputation, but when he had to write his material, he was high. I mean, couldn't have been high to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody else is having a party out front, and he's the one desperately riding in the back of the bus, trying to get some quiet and do some writing.
Well, it's not obviously like when they're in the studio actually making stuff. All those loads of stories about bands doing that, loads of drugs in the studio. Like the Beach Boys apparently did loads and loads of drugs when they were in the studio. But
they were never in the studio. It was only Brian Wilson.
Was it?
They were later after he lost his mind. But he lost his mind because he was burned out. It was all him.
Oh, okay.
And these studio musicians. He stole Phil Spector's studio musicians.
So he wrote all those stupid.
Yeah. So the entire period, the Beach Boys 4 through '67.
Yeah.
And really, they milked his stuff that was unfinished later. He's all one guy. He quit touring in '61, and it was like the Baggage Boys on tour and the Beach Boy in the studio. He didn't tour and they didn't record. They were so disconnected from it that they would turn on the radio while on tour and hear their own new #1 hit that they had never heard before. That was claiming to be them. It was their brother Brian.
Yeah.
And then he would fly out at times, like he would meet in Hawaii and places like that, and teach them their own new hits.
Okay.
And how he wanted to perform. But
Basically, why didn't he care?
Well, because they were out there representing him.
Yeah, I guess so.
He was a member of the band. I mean, as much as they were. I mean, they were the ones performing his vision. He flipped out on an Australian flight in 1961.
Really?
And it may have been later than that. I'm not sure. And then he quit touring after that. I mean, that flight to Australia is really long. He's sort of claustrophobic anyway.
So it's something like 16 hours or something, isn't it?
What?
It was 16 hours or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about that flight being really crazy.
Yeah.
It's shorter now than it was. I don't really get that stir crazy on the flight.
Not being
But no, other people like that had the same kind of high pressure who put out that much material. John Fogerty as well. If you really look at the amount of material he put out between, let's say, '61 and '67, they were pushing him. He put out more than 2 albums a year.
Yeah, some people just work better under pressure, though.
And to get the Beach Boys effect, he's doing all the vocals. He's doing five vocals on top of each other.
Yeah.
They weren't even on the records to do that. He's a fascinating character.
Who, John Fogerty?
No, Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson. Yeah, what band was John Fogerty in? So.
Clearwater Revival.
Okay.
He put out that much material too, though. And I'd like to know more about John Fogerty because it's a very comparable amount of material in that short of a time, and you wonder how did he do it? And he crashed too in a way.
Yeah.
And to the point where he wouldn't even play his own material. Dylan at some Grammy event was sitting at a table with him and said, people are going to know that woman for your song, meaning Tina Turner. Mary, if you don't get up here and sing with us, because they had like a rave up at the end where they all get on stage together. If you don't sing your own songs, people are never going to know it's you. Never going to know your period. Barry, and that pieced him into getting on stage again and doing his own material for the first time in 15 years or something. Brian Wilson spent 20 years in bed. Smile. He finally released the album that drove him insane, Smile, only as a live album, and 37 years later.
Oh, you finally release it? Is it any good?
As a live album.
Oh, okay.
He never released the original material, which it's brilliant. He recorded 3 albums worth of material as Smile, and then dumped his career. And then the Beach Boys were sunk. That's why they sucked at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
They began just playing baseball shows and after baseball games, things like that. Any crap gig they could come up with, because they felt that their father, who was the abusive one, that they had pushed the father away. He had been the heavy manager on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they put him in charge of the publishing just to get rid of him, and he sold all of Brian Wilson's classic material together in a bundle for $700,000 in 1967.
Yeah.
All of his babies had been sold. So it took them. They were out playing every crap gig in the world, trying to earn the money to buy the songs back. They bought it back for $7 million. They sold for $700,000.
Yeah.
And that still didn't bring him out of his bedroom. He had crashed because of the pressure and losing his songs and all the drugs he was on and every other thing. I mean, at a certain point, he would only meet with the Capitol Record executives in the pool. He had some bathing suits for them because he felt that he was being listened to at all times.
Yeah.
So the only safe place was the swimming pool. There are great interviews you can get. I've got them on VHS. Right, I take them at the time. Diane Sawyer trying to just make any sense out of him at all. They had him on TV, and he would just embarrass himself on television. It was just awful. They kidnapped him.
Yeah.
At one point, the Beach Boys, and took him to Hawaii with this Dr. Landy that they hired, which really the whole situation exploded on them. And so, then they tried to commercialize it to pay for it at the same time. It was supposed to be mental health, but it was really commercialization at the same moment. So they brought out the Blues Brothers, Belushi, and they arrested him in this bit that they made for Saturday Night Live and for their documentary, where they arrested him for never having surfed, which he is afraid of water. So the Blues Brothers arrest him in a police car with a surfboard on top and take him out to the surf, and you see how terrified he is of the water in real life.
This is Brian Wilson.
Yeah, Brian Wilson, who wrote about surfing and stuff.
Yeah. And this is during his never leaving the room period when he's totally paranoid.
Right.
Yeah. It was a crap.
He was paranoid anyway. I mean,
yeah.
Freaking out. And this is a guy that was really frightened of the water anyway. And so they're taking him out, forcing him into the surf with these other celebrities. I mean, the whole thing is a disaster. But that's what this pressure does, you know. And it was never validated. They were all. Oh, the other thing that drove him into his bedroom. Do you remember that Monterey Pop Festival? 1960. It was the good Woodstock. It was really a positive event.
Okay.
He was the headliner at that. If he had debuted Smile at the Monterey Pop Festival, they would have been at the top of show business. But they instantly became an oldies act, like the surfing. What do you call that? I forgot the line. But they instantly became
Surfing USA.
What?
Surfing USA. What are you saying? Are you saying the name of the song?
No, I can't remember the name of that. The Surfing Gidgets or something. They became like a oldies 50s act somehow.
Okay.
Yeah. The minute he didn't show up at, they were supposed to debut Smile there, and they failed. They were the headliners of the show, and so that's how Jimi Hendrix and all those people made their great debuts at Monterey, because Brian Wilson's spot was left open. Jimi Hendrix Experience and The Who made their big debuts at Monterey. Are any of the rest of our people there?
I think they're all dead.
Still sitting here listening.
Back alive. I've got a newspaper article. It's pretty weird. Blind boy learns to see using dolphin technique. A blind boy has learnt to see again after being taught a technique used by dolphins to detect where objects are. Jamie Aspland used an echolocation technique at uttering high-pitched clicks with the sound, then rebounding off surfaces to help guide him around obstacles. The 4-year-old, who was born without his sight, was taught the technique as part of a revolutionary new scheme in the US to help the blind. I'll post a link. It's in the Telegraph. Yeah. His mother, Deborah, 39, hailed the treatment after her son was able to walk unaided to the park for the first time and steered himself around a fence he was heading straight for. Speaking after just 3 sessions of the therapy, she said, "It's changed our lives. The therapy has been a revelation. Since learning the skill, we can walk to the park and Jamie no longer has to hold my hand. He even clicks to find out where the handrails are on the staircase before walking down unaided. It's amazing!" Jamie from Ashford in Kent has just completed his 3rd session with US-based guru Daniel Kish, who lost his sight when he was just 13 months old. As president of the World Access for the Blind, Mr. Kish has developed a system based on animal sonar to help humans form mental maps of their surroundings. He copied the technique dolphins use to navigate their way through the murky depths, using high-pitched clicks to penetrate objects and reflect off their internal structure. Jamie is able to mirror that behaviour, which complements his use of the cane by flicking his tongue against the roof of his mouth. When the sound waves hit an object, it reflects the energy back to the ear to enable a blind person to decode its size, shape and distance. The process is similar to what happens with vision in normal-sighted people who rely on patterns of returning light in order to actually see. The money for Jamie's £2,500 treatment was raised by well-wishers in his hometown who carried out a range of blindfolded activities to understand what life for Jamie is like. He is among just a handful of children in the world being offered the treatment by globe-trotting therapist Mr. Kish, who is based in California. He said, this is Mr. Kish I think, "Working with Jamie and his family was a terrific experience and he was very responsive." Mr. Kish explained that echolocation, or flash sonar as he terms it, will eventually enable Jamie to detect buildings from a distance of 100 metres. That's 100. He said flash sonar provides one with information of a fair amount of detail at distances of dozens of metres, depending on the circumstances. A tree may be detectable and recognised at 10 metres, while a large building may be detectable at 100 metres or more. It's literally like seeing with dim flashes of light. In fact, neuroscientists believe that the same parts of the brain used in visual processing are also being deployed for flash sonar.
Yeah. Is it a mechanical device that makes the noise? How does he hear it?
Actually, there are a couple different things. This isn't a new idea. I've heard of this over a year ago. I don't know what he does, but in some cases they actually learn how to click their tongues. In some cases, small little handheld, simple physical device. It's not an electronic mechanical device. It's a little physical thing. It's like a little toy that you just click that creates a clicking sound.
Echo?
Right, it's echolocation. Pardon?
Do you get enough information from that to find out where things are in the room?
It works with submarines.
Test it for yourself. You just, in the middle of the night, go walk around your apartment. It's dark. Keep a hand over your eyes and turn your head and click back and forth, and you can tell when you're closer to something than when you're further away from something. It's not really that difficult. The difference is whether we're predisposed to it or not. I've tried it. I've tried it within the last year. It really works. But it's a retraining of the mental facilities. It's actually an awful lot of fun. It opens up your mind to being able to incorporate a vaster range of perceptions. You also wind up with an awful lot of bruises on your shins in the first couple of weeks, but, whatever, right? I wouldn't advocate trying it outside for your first time. You don't want to suddenly walk out in the street and make clicking noises at a car that's approaching you, so by the time you receive the information, it's hitting you. But whatever. But no, that information's been around for at least the last 2 years. They've been talking about it and hyping it, which means it has to have been in existence for longer than that.
Mm. So. Well, yeah, it says that Mr. Kish person's been practicing for a number of years.
Well, sure. It has to have been tested and everything.
I was just surprised at the ages of the children. It was 18 months and 3 years or something. And Kish had been doing it since he was 18 months old. And then now he's old enough to teach it to other people, and he told it to this 3-year-old.
I think they would have shown the picture in the article. They showed a picture of just the boy with his mom.
Like a YouTube or something like that.
Well, but age has nothing to do with it.
I mean of the device that he used.
Okay. Well, but even at 18 months, you have a capacity of understanding. The wife, when she was in art school, did a fantastic project, and she had to take a quote and present it in a typography setting that made sense for the quote. And this one particular quote, regardless of how she presents it, means nothing, but the idea behind it, I think, is valid even to this discussion. And the quote is, "There is no disagreement that language needs to be learned, but the commonplaceness of the visual experience betrays art. People assume that because they can see art." And the reason that I bring that up, and the reason that I apply it to this particular thing, is that we take for granted a number of things in existence as providing us with tools that they don't necessarily do, and because of that, we tend to think that the things that we learn are things that should be inherent, that we just have to be re-educated into understanding. For somebody who has no visual experience from birth, to by 18 months be able to recognize things by echolocation, if they've been trained from an infantile, young, precursory month state to recognize things through echolocation, well, why shouldn't that be just as applicable to them as sight? It translates the same type of information, just in an entirely different way. Okay, so they can't state color. They can't tell you how big something is, or how small something is, or what color it is, or define the exactitudes of its lines and shapes without being able to touch it and understanding what those parameters are. But they can indicate that something is there and exists in front of them. You get close enough to a blind child's face, they can sense your presence. Echolocation is nothing more than another teachable tool. That's all it is.
Try telling that to a bat, young man. A bat.
Well, bats never need to learn that. They learn it from it's an inherent element.
Yeah, but
it's
I mean, a bat.
Seeing is an inherent element for us.
Yeah, a bat can see so clearly its system that it can fly through the blades of a fan that's rotating without getting touched. You know, so it's a matter of quality and what have you. I mean, if you've got the senses available to you, then it is a sort of sight.
I can just imagine what other things they learned from becoming a bat.
Hard to say until I've actually been a bat. Once I have been, I'll come back and tell you all what the experience was like.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell us what a midge or a mosquito tastes like.
Doesn't sound really
Quite appetizing for a butt, I
Yeah,
suppose.
appetizing. No, that's for sure.
I can tell you it tastes like chicken.
Because everything we don't know tastes
Yeah,
like
it tastes like chicken. Yeah.
sounds completely realistic. So, but it's a, a learned thing is also an element of an inherent ability. For example, we learn how to speak a language because we have an inherent ability to be able to speak a language. For a bat, their inherent ability is to maneuver by echolocation, and so maybe they don't need to be taught how to do it, but they have an inherent disposition to it. Just like we as humans don't need to be taught how to move, we just learn what ways allow us to move in certain ways that work best for us. But I don't think that any of us would wind up just lying there in a comatose state for the rest of our lives for, 60, 80 years if no one taught us that we needed to move.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another one of those grand questions of where the difference between environment and intuition draw their lines. So
nature or nurture.
Right, exactly. And I don't think any of us are in a position to be an authority on that. I know I'm not, at any rate. What? No applause? No standing ovation for my claiming that I'm not an authority on something? Wow. I'm impressed. You're all being quiet. I'm blown away.
It's
a silent accolade.
Right. There you go. It's like I always expect all of my neighbors to come out and applaud me when I mow my lawn finally. I expect they should all just come out inside and go, "Thank you! Wow! Woohoo! Yay! Congratulations!" But they don't. Still have to mow my lawn. Whatever. So.
It's just a chore.
Right? Like most things. That's true. But, so sorry, I wasn't trying to completely interrupt any of the grand Freeman topics that you guys were talking about, any of my mentioning of anything there. I just, you happened to be talking about something that I had gained some information on previous to this conversation. I felt it important to share it. Even if you didn't feel it was important to hear it.
So I read out the articles. I've a lot of discussion on it.
Now, how old is that article for you? Because, I mean, some of this information here I've seen for, the last 3 or 4 years at least.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those stories they keep bringing up again in order to get people noticing it, and now there is a way around the blindness thing. We don't just like, eyesight's going bad, or you're going to go blind.
Well, all you got to do, Maggot, is stop playing with it.
My eyesight's actually improving. It's 1st of May. Yeah.
Just the palms of your hands are going hairy.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. Yeah.
Excessively so.
Yeah.
He's got now you see, I have to show up and mow his hands at least once a week too. Not only do I have to mow my yard, but I've got to travel over and mow Maggot's hands. It's just tragic. Weed whackers work better, actually.
Don't talk to me about weed whackers. They're a pain in the butt.
I'm not even going to touch that one. That's loaded. So what have we learned today then, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, I'm just reading a piece that will the next 9/11 be made in Israel? I thought the first one was.
Yeah, the first one was. See, they make false flag terrorism the best, you know what I mean? Other people do it, but not as well. In New York, they're really good. False flag terrorism, you gotta have that knowledge.
Or another one. Like, they're worried now about food because this last winter being so harsh, 1/3 of the beehives, who are operated by these companies that rent out their hives for pollinating various crops, 1/3 of their bees died over this last winter.
Well, you couple that with the articles that they've and the news information that they've put out in the last couple of years that the population of honeybees has dropped down, and once again, what do you wind up with? You know, an opportunity to once again exploit money, raise prices, and reduce the population by forcing more people into starvation. Which I want to ask you guys, speaking of that force element, the oil spill in the Gulf, not only does that contribute to the thought process that, you know, oil scarcities are running up, so we need to increase even more so our carbon tax credits and all of that fun stuff, but what about the economic impact of the seafood that has now been totally destroyed and contaminated, that feeds the seafood and coastal populations as well as the other populations across the U.S., Canada, and anywhere that these things are being shipped to? I mean, do you believe that that oil rig explosion was a planned event, or was it actually really accidental?
Well, according to the Russian military, it was a North Korean torpedo event.
North Korea blew up the pipeline.
Yeah, they torpedoed, according to a story I read, which was directly from the Russian military establishment. They say a ship left Havana, diverted from its course, dropped the submarine off, continued on down to Venezuela. And this it got within 120 somebody kilometers of this rig before it turned south again. And the mini submarine's got a range of 200 miles. And they say that the thing took out a couple of the pontoons. I mean, let me just get that story up. Hang on a moment, chaps.
Sure. I think that's rather significant. That,
well, my take on that was just
played off that way.
My take on that was, yes, Mr. America, you attack Iran, our friends, and we'll take at least a quarter of your oil away from you.
Well, but even most of the oil that's produced off the by the U.S. off its coast and even locally isn't even used locally. Most of it's sold off to other countries. So, what would be the purpose of destroying an oil rig in the U.S. where most of that oil isn't even being used domestically?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which crude you're looking at, because there's some light crudes, heavy crudes, you know. Some, I mean, the North Sea crude is quite a light crude, which lends itself to the production of the lighter aromatics, petroleum, and the kerosenes, you know, the various, you know, kerosenes, paraffin, whatever you like to call it. So whereas the heavier fuels out of Saudi Arabia, they're good for bunkering oil. I mean, they do produce gasoline and the lighter, but not so much of it. So it's more on the heavier lubricants and bunkering oil for for ships and power generation.
Okay. So then, if
so obviously there's a swap going on. You know, I mean, you don't want to. Yeah, there has to be a swap going on. You need heavy and light crudes to manufacture your plastics and your lighter aromatics like gasoline and kerosenes for your, you know, your cars and your aeroplanes, your jet engines.
Sure. So, what are we losing then out of the Gulf area then?
Well, if they, what's he done? Yeah, I mean, if you lose that, then it means America's got to pay, sell that, and buy more from the Gulf area.
Right, but my question is, what level crude is coming out of the Gulf? Is it a lighter crude? Is it a heavier crude?
No, it's a heavy crude.
Okay. So
it's heavy oil. It's thick black shit.
Gotcha. So it's being utilized as more of a capacity for plastics, lubricants, etc., and less for gasoline?
Yeah. I mean, it does produce gasoline, but of course, in the cracking plant, it takes more energy to crack your gasoline out of heavy crude than it does out of the lighter crudes. You know, your NYMEX and your North Sea type crudes.
Gotcha. Okay. I understand.
But it seems there's a subplot. Apparently, also that it's been determined that submarine event in the Korean Sea was in actual fact a torpedo hit, and according to the Russians, Obama stood the military down, don't interfere, stood down, because officially the war between North and South Korea is still going on.
Sure.
It's never. When they had the 1953 armistice, the South refused to sign it. The North signed it, but not the South.
Really?
Yep. So the North have actually signed it, but not the South. So there's no armistice in place. So the actual Korean War is still in progress. So and legally speaking, the North Koreans were entitled to torpedo that ship.
Wow. Because the state of war still exists.
Because the state of war still exists.
Precisely. Once again, that's
and did you not notice that Horizon rig was manufactured in South Korea and it remained the South Korean company's rig?
No, actually, I was not aware of that, but that's rather interesting.
Yeah, Transoceana is the name of the company. It still remains Transoceana's rig, a South Korean company, and it was just being rented and operated under license by British Petroleum and British Petroleum.
By BP. Sure.
Yeah, by BP, but BP didn't even have its own staff on there. It hired staff. This is a very complicated piece of shit.
So it's a rig that is owned by the South Koreans.
Yep.
Leased to BP, British Petroleum, and
yep.
staffed by American citizens.
Yes.
So, if a North Korean ship leaving Cuba fired a missile at it, because the war still exists between North and South Korea, because the North signed the armistice and the South didn't, and the South is in dishonor to the armistice, yep. Firing upon a South Korean facility by a North Korean ship is not a perpetrated violent act, but a continuation of a war that's been in existence since the 1950s.
Yes, precisely. That's the legal position.
Oh, wow. My brain is spinning. Anyone else all screwed up right now?
Which puts Obama and the Brits in between a rock and a hard place.
Well, but to have Obama tell any military operation to stand down, that puts him in complete dishonor, doesn't it?
There is precedent for this. There's the USS Liberty.
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, the military, they called it SWAT, went down to all the other rigs. Now, why would they go down to all the other rigs? They've got no fucking idea of how to operate an oil rig.
Right.
The military? None at all. So why would they go down? Because they suspected another attack might take place. But that's not the reason given in the media, but only in the Russian media.
Well, so if our SWAT is on a rig that once again may be owned by South Korea and is fired upon and destroyed, can the United States then consider that an act of war?
Well, not really, you see, because even this rig was outside America's territorial waters. It was in Gulf waters, international waters.
Okay. So an attack on a facility that's owned by somebody else, leased by a third party, and staffed by a fourth party, any attack on it is only deemed an attack against the first party,
the owners,
right? Not the leasers, or and not the employees on the actual.
No, that's collateral damage.
Isn't that nice? We've put our own people in a position of being even further collateral damage. Yay! Does anyone in this? Does anyone out there listening really believe that they are free, sovereign citizens if they continue to perpetuate their existence under the presidency of Barack Obama?
He's not the president.
Well, that's what I said. Anyone who believes that
well, it does begin with P, but it's not president. It's called puppet.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's the Big Brzezinski's new puppet.
Yeah.
You saw what happened with this last one, Carter.
Yeah, that lasted all of 4 years, and
I don't think this one will make the full 4 years. I think that it'll be such an outrage. I mean, the whole thing is so wrong.
Well, with any luck, we can begin impeachment proceedings as soon as possible. Knock on wood, right?
They've been trying to pull down the Fulbright scholarship argument because it is for American students if they want to go to school abroad. Well,
it's also for American professors if they want to teach abroad.
Well, okay, but if you wanted to use it to go to school, you're an American to Harvard, no way.
Nope.
It's for foreign students to come here, or our people to go overseas. But Obama used it to come here.
Right.
American citizens that go to Oxford and Cambridge in the UK can go on a Fulbright scholarship.
Right. That's not what Obama did.
And British, Indonesian, African, Asian, whatever students who want to go to the universities here in the United States can get a Fulbright scholarship. But a U.S. citizen cannot attend a United States college or university on a Fulbright scholarship.
That's right. Yep.
Doesn't work. Yeah. So if you're a Fulbright scholar and President of the United States, you're lying.
But notice when that concept came out, if you try to look it up now, you find incredible opposition to anyone telling the truth about this. They'll deny all the answers you get are about denying the truth.
Well, sure.
This has been debunked. This is not true. Oh.
Well, it's like finding debunking of any sense.
Yeah, but notice they're protesting too much.
Sure. Well, you go to 9/11 Truth, and you check out 9/11 Truth, and then you can find thousands and thousands of sites of people debunking 9/11 Truth. But
it's not done legitimately. It's done in a copycat. They're all saying
right. They're all claiming the exact same things over and over again. But then if you go to if you look on debunking the debunking of 9/11 Truth, there's only a couple key sites, and they're irrefutable.
Yeah, but the thing is that this is the way that these people do it. They're all copycat sites. It's really just a few people making a million sites.
Sure. Just to make it seem like it's like Popular Mechanics coming out and debunking 9/11 when after 9/11 they got rid of everyone on staff and replaced it with all new people that weren't there on the day of 9/11.
Right.
Well, how do they know? They weren't there. They didn't witness it. They weren't participants in it. They weren't actively members of the locale where it happened. They're put there in place to spout the company line, otherwise they'll be fired.
Well, it is Hearst Publishing. They invented Yellow Journals.
Sure. Sure.
But it's 4 o'clock. Let's wrap it up.
Jeez, that's weird. My, oh, there we go. I'm sorry. My computer has this thing where if the mouse doesn't move, it stops counting the time. You're right, it is 4 o'clock. I apologize. My name is Don of the Clan Perry. We have been joined today, as always, by the responsible party of Stratios.
Oh, yeah, I'm your responsible party. I should say it myself.
Well, I just tried to make sure that people know. Just a double jeopardy thing.
And we've had our host, Don Perry, and, of course, Maggot from England. And I'm your responsible party of Stratios Constantine Morenius, president of World Freeman Society of America. There's other branches, but I'm the American head. And the Caribbean Critic is our guest, is our favorite guest.
Woo! As always.
Our favorite guest. Anybody want to say anything before I pull us off the air?
I'm good. Go to worldfreemansociety.org.
Yeah, check out that those reports on why that rig sunk. Just a final point: a second rig turned turtle, but didn't explode and didn't leak oil. So the preventer worked on that rig.
Well, no one fired a missile from a North Korean sub at it. So
we're gonna. In the next day or two, we're going to create a show page where we'll be able to give you notes on each show.
Right.
Yeah,
so you can find all these links.
It just occurred to me just now. They want me to build wiki pages. Well, that's good. I'll do it.
Marvelous.
I'll put a thing up. I mean, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, then they can do it
you want to plug your MySpace? Do we have a tiny URL set up for his MySpace?
Yes, we have tinyurl.com/mymaggot.
Yeah, my Maggot.
And that'll get you on the Maggot's MySpace page. Check out his blogs and everything else. To find podcasts of our shows, go to tinyurl.com/WFS podcast. And you can get podcasts of our show and listen to them on your own time.
We have a talk show archive.
Yep. Of course, always contact us at Keep Truth Free on Skype. Thank you very much for listening, folks.
Okay, I'm your responsible party. I'm going to take this off the air.
Oh.
All right, we're off. Back to silly music.
Okay.
I've been playing this older country music from 1910, 1915.
Yeah.
It's finally getting a little more modern.
Very nice. So you changed the kernel on my computer?
I tried to, but it didn't work apparently.
No, it didn't, because I had to go back to legacy kernel to be able to do anything.
Okay, I'll fix that. I found a lot of information on AMD. I was doing it wrong.
Okay. Well, obviously I'm up, and you've got access to whatever you need to and stuff, so go ahead and do what you need to. But, yeah.
All right. I got to go. We're going to have a World Freeman Society administration meeting, and I'm going to scream the whole time.
Cool.
Ooh, would you tape it? Would you record it? I want to listen to it later.
I'll get it. That's
Excellent.
really funny.
All right. See ya.
Bye, guys. Thanks
Bye.
a lot.
See ya.
Cheers, guys.